Good evening, and welcome to the latest happenings inside our federal machine.
It's Friday, January 30th, 2026. It's Spathon with tonight's Better Late Than Never episode of The Swamp. This morning, the Department of Justice made the bombshell announcement that more individuals were arrested by the Department of Justice for their involvement in the city church riots in St. Paul, Minnesota. Among those arrested is none other than Don Lemon, former employee of CNN. And the Department of Justice has dropped 3.5 million pages worth of files in their latest Epstein Files dump under the Epstein Transparency Act, and those in the media and others on the left highlight anonymous complaints made to the government, telling wild stories about Trump committing heinous acts around Epstein, all of which were followed up, and of course, not a single one found to be credible. And Senator Rand Paul shares his reason why he isn't voting for the spending bill, which includes DHS funding. And his reasoning is a lot more valid than most people probably think, and probably why other Republicans also voted no. Today, a federal judge permanently struck down President Trump's executive order that requires a valid government ID to register to vote, and the Trump administration is appealing that decision. Tens of thousands of Minneapolis leftists gathered downtown to protest against ICE operations, and during the quote-unquote peaceful protests, local sheriffs were seen arresting a number of violent leftists. Sounds like Tom Homan got his local police after all. And President Trump signed yet another executive order today, which establishes the IndyCar circuit to run the America 250 Grand Prix in Washington, D.C. this summer. And the federal government shared the announcement that the Panamanian Supreme Court upheld its constitution and banned communist China from operating the Panama Canal. A big win for both Panama and the United States. And there's a lot more that happened today, so we're going to dive straight in. And if you enjoyed the video, please give the video a quick like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the daily updates. And I might read your comment on the next episode if you decide to drop one below. And every article that I will come across in this video will be linked below in the description. And we're going to start right here with the White House. When life gives you lemons, Don Lemon arrested for involvement in the St. Paul church riots. You gotta love it. And from Attorney General Pamela Bondi, at my direction, early this morning, federal agents arrested Don Lemon and also Traherne Jean Cruz, Georgia Fort, and Jamail Lydell Lundy in connection with the coordinated attack on City's church in St. Paul, Minnesota. More details soon. And this is a quick clip from AG Pam Bondi. Let's give this a quick watch.
Make no mistake, under President Trump's leadership and this administration, you have the right to worship freely and safely. And if I haven't been clear already, if you violate that sacred right, we are coming after you.
Oh shit, I'm muted.
No mistake.
Damn right they're coming after him. They better be coming after him because they're violating the FACE Act. And that's what I kept reading. The FACE Act, because you cannot intimidate people in a house of worship while, I'm sure at any time. I was about to say during church services, but I'm sure that doesn't even apply to church services. You're not supposed to go into houses of worship and intimidate people or harass or threaten, terrorize, so on and so forth, which is exactly what they were doing. They were barging in there and they were scaring people into joining their anti-ICE ranks. And Don Lemon, he got handled. All right, so Ilhan Omar, of course, she had to chime in. The arrests of Don Lemon, Georgia Fort, and Jamail Lundy are unacceptable and a clear violation of the Constitution. This is a dangerous abuse of power that threatens the rights of every single American. They must be released immediately. Well, obviously she does. She's not familiar with the FACE Act. Well, I'm sure she is. I'm sure she knows what she's doing. It's all just like gaslighting propaganda, just very low IQ propaganda. That was an act of Congress passing the FACE Act. So it's on the books. It's in the federal law. So, all right. So we got this from Senator John Hickenlooper. Arresting journalists is straight out of the authoritarian playbook. Another attack on the truth and First Amendment rights by the Trump administration. We all need to stand for a free press. Breaking news, the former CNN anchor Don Lemon was arrested on charges connected to a Minnesota church protest. People familiar with the matter said. And Yeah, just because you're a journalist, that doesn't give you a green pass, gold pass, free pass to just violate the Constitution or just straight up break law, whether if it's local law, federal law, no matter what. You got to be held responsible for your actions. And from the GOP, this got a lot of attention, of course, reposting the Democrats saying way back in 2019 on November the 19th, no one is above the law. And of course, the Democrats, just 10 hours ago, they posted this: free Don Lemon, protect free speech. But yeah, I thought no one is above the law. But that's the Democrat Party today. They're just a walking hypocrisy constantly, every single day. All right, so Todd Blanche, I will be holding a press conference at 11 a.m. Eastern today at the Justice Department. Live stream available here. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe this is with regard to Don Lemon's arrest, as well as others. So it looks like it's not going to be here, but let me find it. And we got it right here. DOJ press conference provides updates on Epstein Files, Alex Preddy investigation, and Don Lemon arrest. It's 35 minutes in total. I'm assuming a lot of it's going to be Q&A. I'll get at least a few minutes of the opening statement. Hopefully it's not going to be too lengthy because I have a very limited amount of time tonight. I already started the swamp like an hour late, so I'll get as far as I can, and I will link this video down below in the description if you want to take a look at all of it. So let's get started.
Good morning. President Trump signed the Epstein Files Transparency Act into law on November 19th, 2025, directing the Department of Justice to produce all documents, files, records, videos, and images related to the investigations and prosecutions of Jeffrey Epstein
and they're very late.
Maxwell. I'm here today to talk about the department's compliance with its production obligations under the Act.
Not exactly full compliance.
Around, I think right now, and continuing throughout the day-to-day, as the indexing and uploading completes, we are producing responsive materials under the Act.
We're going to get to this in a minute.
Today a letter
the Epstein stuff.
We are transmitting to Congress and various internal protocols associated with our review. I want to take a moment to thank the professionals at the Department of Justice who met twice daily, sometimes more, for the last 75 days to get to where we are today. The leadership teams from the Office of the Attorney General, from the Deputy Attorney General's office, the Associate Attorney General's office, the Criminal Division, the National Security Division, the FBI, the Southern District of Florida, the Southern District of New York, and the Northern District of Nations that I just mentioned, and others who worked long days, nights, weekends, Christmas, New Year's Day, nights, weekends, and holidays to complete this production. These highly trained reviewers spend their careers putting bad guys in jail and effectuating than 2,000 videos and 180,000 images. In total, that means that the department produced approximately 3.5 million pages in compliance with the Act. Just a quick note about the videos and images. The 2,000 videos and 180,000 images are not all videos and images taken by Mr. Epstein or someone around him. They include large quantities of commercial pornography and images that were seized from Epstein's devices, but which he did not take or that someone around him did not take. Some of the videos, though, and some of the images do appear to be taken by Mr. Epstein or by others around him. Now, I want to talk for a few minutes about the department's document identification and review protocols. It consisted of multiple layers of review and quality control designed to ensure compliance under the Act and protect victims. On top of the review protocols that the department had in place, the United States Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York employed an additional review protocol to ensure compliance with a court order that we collected, including deliberative process privilege, work product privilege, in any image or video, with the exception of Ms. Maxwell. We did not redact images of any men, unless it was impossible to redact the woman without also redacting the man. To this end, though, and to ensure transparency, if any member of Congress wishes to review any portions of the responsive production in any unredacted form, they're welcome to make arrangements with the department to do so, and
Well, there you
we're
go,
happy
Democrats.
to do that. I want to talk for a minute about something that is important. Every single day of the year, the Department of Justice investigates and prosecutes those who abuse and traffic young women and children. Just last year, the FBI located over 2,700 victims of child exploitation. The Department of Justice found and terminated 3.8 million dark web pedophile accounts. In August, we charged 11 defendants for extensive sex trafficking in Los Angeles of illegal immigrants and underage women. Last month, we charged 5 men who were engaged in a sadistic sextortion network of deranged young men abusing women. Over the past several months, last summer and into the fall, we executed Operation Restore Justice, rescuing 205 child victims and arresting 293 offenders. I point this out because I take umbrage at the suggestion, which is totally false, that the Attorney General or this department does not take child exploitation or sex trafficking seriously, or that we
Yeah, they're not playing games with the freaking Epstein files.
We do. There are some select members of Congress and some in the public eye, including those most critical of our efforts at full transparency under the Act, who remain silent as to all the work that we have done and continue to do every day in this space, while quickly pointing a finger at the Attorney General or this department because we were careful in our review of millions of pages of documents.
Well, forgive us for not
over the
exactly
past 2
trusting the
months.
federal bureaucracy, dude.
The Attorney General,
You don't really have
the Director of the FBI,
best history.
and our partners throughout this administration work hard every single day to protect the most vulnerable among us. With the production of this
We're allowed to be
magnitude,
skeptical.
mistakes are inevitable. We, of course, want to immediately correct any redaction errors that our team may have made. And so the department has established an email inbox for victims to reach us directly to correct redactions and any concerns when appropriate. That's been in existence since December, and we've been doing that since then. Finally, a very small portion of the documents collected pursuant to the Act include materials that a law firm produced to the SDNY in 2019 pursuant to a grand jury subpoena. This was during the criminal investigation of Ms. Maxwell. We determined it would be prudent to seek an order from the court in the Southern District of New York seeking production of these materials subject to the protective order in that civil lawsuit. To that end, the department has filed that motion with the appropriate judge in the SDNY, and if that motion is granted, we'll release those materials with appropriate redactions immediately.
So in other words, a judge is allowed to not comply with the Epstein Transparency Act, I guess.
Release
I guess
marks
they're
the
above
end
the
of
law.
a very comprehensive document identification and review process to ensure transparency to the American people and compliance with the Act. The department has engaged in an unprecedented and extensive effort to do so. After submitting the final report to Congress as required under the Act and publishing the written justifications for redactions in the Federal Register, the department's obligations under the Act will be completed. I'm happy to take any questions
All right,
anybody
man.
has.
So that's it. That's
about
all
that.
they got on Epstein.
Todd, I'd like to ask you about this, and then I have a Minnesota question.
Investigating, and we are.
A civil rights investigation into his death. Where does that land now?
The Department of Justice may or may not have.
All right, I'd like to get to
based
the other
on, NDI.
parts.
Deputy Attorney General,
positions of power who you're
Is all the rest of this going to be Q&A?
follow up on that.
they played up those expectations.
Okay, all right. Well, that's fine anyway, because that directly pertains to this segment of this episode anyway. So we'll just go ahead and move on from there. From the U.S. Department of Justice, the DOJ publishes 3.5 million responsive pages in compliance with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. And we've got a link to justice.gov, and it looks like it's going to be their media release. Let's see, where did that go? Here. Oh, yeah, okay, so here it is. It's 6 pages in total, and it's pertaining to, let's see, well, it's from the Office of the Deputy Attorney General. regarding the Epstein Files Transparency Act, production of department materials. President Trump signed the Epstein Files Transparency Act into law on November 19th, 2025, directing the Department of Justice to produce, with few exceptions, all documents, files, records, videos, images, which we already know all that. So let's see. The department's document identification and review protocols consisted of multiple levels of review and quality control procedures. More than 500 attorneys and reviewers from the department contributed to this effort with the objective of identifying all potentially responsive materials for review and production. In addition, the U.S. Attorney's Office for Southern District of New York employed an additional review protocol, which he already outlined that. Maybe he read this whole thing right there during that press briefing. The department's collection efforts resulted in more than 6 million pages being identified as potentially responsive, including department and FBI emails, interview summaries, and images, and so on and so forth. They were collected from 5 primary sources: the Florida and New York cases against Epstein, the New York case against Maxwell, the New York cases investigating Epstein's death, the Florida case investigating a former butler of Epstein, and multiple FBI investigations, as well as the Office of the Inspector General's investigation into Epstein's death. So it'll go on from there. I will obviously provide a direct link to that. Again, it's going to be on justice.gov, and you can click on it right below this video. And this is from Jake Tapper. This is when we get into all the conspiracy stuff, when we get into these quote-unquote anonymous complainants, and they drop some very colorful information. Now, I can't zoom in. All I can do is just, I can't zoom in because on the freaking X platform, it doesn't let you zoom in on images. So I will repost. Let me see. I'm going to repost each of these in its entirety. So there's a direct link to my profile down below in the description if you want to go see it, or you can go to Jake Tapper if you really want to and view it there. But there's a few of them here. Another one from Spencer Haikimian and Disclose.tv. So, of course, I'm not going to be able to read every word of all of this. Here, let me see if I can at least press my face up against the screen and see if I can at least read this first part here. So, of course, the beginning of it is redacted. And if you're looking at a decently sized screen, you might be able to see that it says complaint summary up here at the top column, the top left column. There's the name, which they redacted all the names, then the response, and then the criminal history. But this top one, it says it reported an unidentified female friend who was forced to perform oral, on President Trump approximately 35 years ago in New Jersey. The friend told Alexis that she was approximately 13 to 14 years old when this occurred, and the friend allegedly bit President Trump while performing it. The friend was allegedly hit in the face after she laughed about biting President Trump. The friend said she was also abused by Epstein. And the response, it says, spoke with the caller who identified such and such as a friend. A lead was sent to Washington field office to conduct an interview. And then it says results matching name and date of birth or criminal history in South Carolina. The date of arrest, June 18th, 1987 for assault and battery, high and aggravated nature. So looks like a name that they blacked out there. But supposedly all of these turned out to not be credible. I would say they obviously haven't, because otherwise I'm sure they would have opened up several separate investigations, such as this one. The one that's not highlighted in yellow in between, it says 2 voicemails were left. No response was received. So whoever who left this complaint, they tried to follow up and they never got back in contact with them. Same with this one that was left blank. So another one like having to do with a 16-year-old talking about Victoria's Secret models, mentioning Trump's name. And it says the complainant was spoken to and deemed not credible. Additional research showed 3 separate incidents involving police which requested and mandatory psychiatric evaluations. And the one down here at the bottom, no probative information. And they give an FBI number, gun permit. So all of these, these are all just complaints that were just called in from everywhere. So I think you can only imagine the number of people that were probably calling in false complaints, just spinning these wild stories about Trump did this and Trump is involved with that. And of course, the FBI, anytime they get something like this, they've got to follow it up. And so this is another page of all of that. And here's yet another one. So yeah, it's like at the very top says, caller reported the school was mad at her for not being a Trump person and that the school wanted her to testify and say things against Andrew Cuomo. The FBI and Donald Trump were on the phone during the meeting. Caller believes the FBI has baby pictures of her with Epstein. And so on and so forth. So anyway, let me see. Is this another one? Reported unidentified. Oh, okay. So that was the initial one. That was the first one, I think, because it mentioned oral, you know what, and yeah. So I think you kind of get the idea. But again, you can visit all 4 of these images. You can just check my profile below by clicking on the link. So see, we got this one from Spencer Haikimian. And I said literally anyone can file a complaint, and every complaint is filed. Noticed how they were not deemed credible, or the feds couldn't reach the complainants, otherwise known as prank callers. And for this one, I already read that one in the last post. And at age 16, while modeling, caller attended 8 parties at Epstein's New York residence. On one occasion, caller reported she was SA'd by Epstein. On another occasion, 2 twin brothers, Alan and Orrin, lured caller and her friend upstairs, but they escaped back downstairs. Caller stated Orrin Ard, her and her best friend, and a third brother, Tall Ard, a 14-year-old. Caller named other individuals involved in a you-know-what with her, an adult party. Other young girls and older Victoria's Secret models, including Bill Clinton and Donald Trump. Online complainant reported she was a victim and witness to trafficking ring at Trump Golf Course in Rancho Palos Verdes, California, between 95 and 96. Complainant reported Ghislaine Maxwell was the madam and broker for the parties, clients of whom included Epstein and Trump. And anyway, after reading all of that, the response, it says complainant was spoken to and deemed not credible. Additional research showed 3 separate, and then they blacked out the rest. I'm assuming they get into the names from there. But yeah, so the whole not credible portion down here at the bottom, it goes into more detail about it, but it's all linked to the non-credible individual. And all right, so from this one, disclosed.tv, just in, FBI report citing a confidential human source released in the final batch of Epstein Files claims Trump has been compromised by Israel. Uh-oh. And says it's unclassified from the FBI. It is a CHS reporting document. And let's take a look from 10/16 of 2020. List all present, including yourself. Okay, they redacted that. Let's see. Substantive case file number. Check here if additional reporting is an echo. Source reporting. Let's see here. Captioned, confidential human source was asked by the handling agent about information he/she may be aware of related to improper domestic or foreign influence over the electoral process in the U.S. CHS already provided some of this information documented in previous reports, but he or she expanded on several matters as described below. Let me just read what's here in the red. CHS believed Dershowitz was co-opted by Mossad and subscribed to their mission. And over here on the right, also written in red, or highlighted in red, CHS advised that this was a real collusion story. Trump has been compromised by Israel, and Kushner is the real brains behind his organization and his presidency. So that's all they highlighted. There's a lot of other text in between, of course, everything that's in black and white. It's all listed out there, but it's an unclassified CHS reporting document from the FBI, which is one of the millions of pages that they had dropped today. And this one from Shadow of Ezra, new Epstein files show that Elon Musk was in communication through email with Jeffrey Epstein in 2013 after Epstein was a convicted pedo. And Elon Musk says, is there a good time to visit? Jeffrey Epstein says, I will send a heli for you. Musk stated in the exchange that he would be in the British Virgin Islands area over the holidays. The British Virgin Islands are about 15 miles away from Epstein's island, Little St. James Island. Musk has previously claimed that he and Epstein had never interacted. So here's the email that they're talking about. And I plugged in the email address into Google. I strongly believe that this is going to be Jeffrey Epstein's email address. And it turns out, at least according to Google, it indeed is his email address. With it being a Gmail account, I figured, maybe it would tell me, and it did. So from Elon Musk to jeevacation@gmail.com. The subject, Christmas and New Year's. And this was on Saturday, December 14th of 2013. And so let's see. So jeevacation@gmail wrote, I will send heli for you. Sorry for all the typos. And then it just says sent from my iPhone. And underneath that, it's on December 14th, 2013 at 12:35 a.m. It says, will be in the BVI/St. Bart's area over the holidays. Is there a good time to visit? So there you have it. And I did ask Grok a question. Is this in those Epstein documents? And I actually haven't looked yet, so I'm not sure what the response is going to be. So I asked, Grok, can you provide a link to this document in the Epstein Files release or reference a page number and a link? Again, I have no idea if it's actually going to provide anything at all. So it says the 2013 email exchange between Elon Musk and Jeffrey Epstein is in the DOJ's recent Epstein Files release. For the visit inquiry, refer to dataset 10, document EFTA 019448441.pdf. Musk has previously stated he never visited Epstein's island. Okay, well, did he say that he never visited Epstein's island, or did he say that, oh, see, now I'm reluctant to click on this because I don't want any, because you remember what he said, there's X-rated material in this latest data files dump. So with this being YouTube, you know what? Actually, I'll just pause it and just take a look for myself. Oh yeah, it was perfectly fine. This is literally what it took me to. Here, let me do it one more time, see if it does the same thing. Yeah, see, it just takes me to this PDF. That's actually pretty cool that Grok can actually do that. So it is indeed here. And it's, I've got the address right here. And it did already say that if you want to go look for it, if you want to go dig for it manually, you can just take that document number and find it that way. There is a search bar. If you go to, justice.com / Epstein, or justice.gov / here, let me do it. Justice, yeah, here it is, /Epstein. It's just /Epstein. They do have a search bar. It would probably work here, actually. I guess I can give that a quick shot and see if that'll actually work. But it says data set number 10. Should I add the PDF or not? I don't know. I'm going to try without the PDF first. See what that does. I don't know if it will. No results found there. But that might not be the best place to look for it. Epstein Library. Okay, so here we go. That would probably be the more appropriate one to go with. Oh yeah, here you go. EFTA 019448441.pdf, dataset 10. Let's click on that. And this is it. That's the document. So it is indeed in the Epstein files. It's to Jeffrey Epstein from Elon Musk. And it says sent. Of course, I already read all that. December 14th, 2013 at 4:35 and 10 seconds a.m. Subject Christmas and New Year's. Will be in the BVI/St. Bart's area over the holidays. Is there a good time to visit? I don't know, Elon Musk. I guess I got some questions now. Did you actually end up visiting? Did you cancel? Did you have second thoughts? Did you realize, oh yeah, holy shit, I forgot. Yeah, Jeffrey Epstein is a sick SOB and a convicted pedo, and maybe that's not a great idea. Or maybe he did visit. I don't know. I guess my only other follow-up question would be, are there any other emails that Elon Musk sent Jeffrey Epstein in these documents? So at least according to this, it says that, let's see, where was it? He previously claimed that he and Epstein have never interacted. Well, they obviously interacted by email at the very least. So I don't know, Elon. You're not looking too good after that. All right, let's move on to the next thing. As soon as I can get back to the main list, here we go. So from the Oversight Committee, no one is above the law, not even the Clintons. Remember, we still got the Clintons in the middle of this scandal, and they keep refusing to testify to Congress. So now they're about to get some accountability, according to the Oversight Committee. So let's hear what they have to say.
We're going to hold both Clintons in criminal contempt of Congress.
I'm going to note for the record that former President Clinton is not present.
Today, the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform meets to advance 2 resolutions recommending that the House of Representatives find former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton in contempt of Congress for refusing to comply with duly issued subpoenas. The question is now on favorably reporting the William J. Clinton contempt report as amended.
Mr. Chairman, on this vote, the ayes are 34, the nays are 8, with 2 voting present.
Isn't that crazy? That everybody, well, there were 8 that voted no, but it got such a large majority, including that's got to be Ayanna Pressley, right? Presley. And what was the other one? Jasmine Crockett didn't vote. There's a few. There's actually quite a few, I think, Democrats that are on this list that actually voted yes to hold the Clintons in contempt.
To this vote, the committee hereby favorably reports and adopts this report recommending that the House of Representatives find William J. Clinton in contempt of Congress for refusal to comply with the subpoena duly issued by this committee. The question
Has
is
that
now
ever happened to
favorably
a former
reporting that
president?
Hillary R. Clinton contempt report as amended.
Contempt of
Mr. Chairman,
Congress.
On this vote, the ayes are 28, the nays are 15, with one voting present.
The ayes have it.
Yeah, so that one's referencing Hillary Clinton. Now, for some reason, Ayanna Pressley voted no on that one. And a few other. I think Ansari might be another Democrat.
Pursuant to this vote, the committee hereby favorably reports and adopts this report recommending that the House of Representatives find Hillary R. Clinton in contempt of Congress for refusal to comply with a subpoena duly issued by this committee. We will move the report to the full House. Today, the Clintons must be held accountable.
What's her
for their
excuse?
actions, and Democrats
We won't give
must
in
support
to
these measures,
Republican
or
bullies.
They will be exposed as hypocrites.
But if Comer tries to bring this resolution, he wants to lock Hillary Clinton up, consistent with what Donald Trump's been saying now for 10 years, lock her up, then we'll deal with it appropriately.
We'll deal with it appropriately. You know, like the cavalry will come in, you know, we'll try to fix the election once again. Once we get back into power, then we'll just pardon everybody. All right. Frankly, I'm actually surprised that Joe Biden didn't preemptively pardon them too. I guess he just inconveniently forgot that, I guess. Okay, we'll move on to the next. Let's see. Alexa Henning, despite the Democrats' protestations and Mark Warner's weird, sweaty selfie car videos, federal law grants the DNI with leading efforts to secure American elections. This is on Breitbart. Exclusive. Spy Chief Tulsi Gabbard visited Fulton County election site to ensure integrity of our elections. And the Democrats are really pissed off about this. Director of National Intelligence, DNI, Tulsi Gabbard was present at the FBI search of a Fulton County, Georgia election center as part of the Gabbard's month-long investigation into election integrity. Breitbart News has learned. Director Gabbard recognizes that election security is essential for the integrity of our republic and our nation's security. As DNI, she has a vital role in identifying vulnerabilities in our critical infrastructure and protecting against exploitation, DNI Press Secretary Olivia Coleman told Breitbart News. So a lot of wild ideas were flying around yesterday with regard to potential international ties, maybe even Nicolas Maduro. His name was thrown around as to why Tulsi Gabbard may have been there. So doesn't look like that might actually be the case, at least according to what I've read so far. It looks like she was just there to just oversee the integrity of it, I guess, of the investigation, make sure that it all goes off without a hitch. Quote, we know through intelligence and public reporting that electronic voting systems have been and are vulnerable to exploitation. President Trump's directive to secure our elections was clear, and DNI Gabbard has and will continue to take actions within her authorities alongside our interagency partners to support ensuring the integrity of our elections, Coleman added. Gabbard, the nation's top spy chief, has spent months investigating the results of the 2020 presidential election, which led her to an FBI search of an election center in Fulton County, Georgia. FBI agents sought records relating to the 2020 presidential election with a warrant authorizing officials to search for physical ballots, voter rolls from that year, ballot images created by scanning ballots, and tabulator tapes from every voting machine in the county. The search is part of an investigation into possible violations of federal law against destroying election records and other statute dealing with the submission of fraudulent votes. The FBI search as part of the president's efforts to investigate election fraud elicited a strong and swift reaction from Democrats, including Senator Jon Ossoff, who's from Georgia. Ossoff said on Wednesday, quote, he is wielding the American government as an instrument of personal revenge and personal power in a way that completely unprecedented for the American presidency. Senator Mark Warner, Democrat from Virginia, the top Democrat on the Intelligence Committee, said the FBI search amounted to a domestic political stunt that would undermine our democracy. Despite the Democrats' protestations, federal law grants the DNI with leading efforts to secure American elections. So that would also be a good reason as to why Tulsi Gabbard was there. Federal law assigns DNI Gabbard and her office the responsibility to lead counterintelligence matters regarding election security, which includes assessing the potential risks to election voting systems, voter registration databases, and foreign interference. It really makes me wonder what Tulsi Gabbard had discovered inside the DNI, because remember when at some point last year, it was like halfway through last year, that she downsized the hell out of the DNI to make it run more efficiently. I think she saved the department like $700 million worth of taxpayer dollars per year by doing the downsizing. And also just going through just that whole purge. What did she uncover that had to do with 2020? I just can't help but wonder. And will we get further information on that, or is some of it too sensitive to be released, or maybe there's some investigations going on behind the scenes that we're not quite aware of yet? I don't know, but this all might be all tied into that. It might just be what she uncovered at the DNI, what they were doing, colluding to just steal the 2020 election. Guess we'll have to see. DNI Gabbard supports the White House's interagency actions to secure the country's elections through intelligence analysis, routing, collaboration with agencies and departments, including the Department of Homeland Security, Department of Justice, and the FBI to protect election infrastructure. Specifically, 50 U.S.C. Section 3371D authorizes DNI to designate and oversee a national counterintelligence officer within the National Counterintelligence and Security Center to lead, manage, and coordinate counterintelligence matters related to election security. That's why she was there. An ODNI official said American intelligence has found that foreign actors are developing more and more sophisticated cyber capabilities that target critical infrastructure, which reinforces the need for the ODNI, which is the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, to ensure that these efforts do not impact the election process. And that also makes a strong argument as to why any electronic voting machine should in no way be connected to the internet at all. That's insane. But I'm a strong believer that we should just go right back to paper ballots. I don't think we should be touching any screens when we're voting. That's ridiculous. Even like in my state, I don't vote by pressing my finger on a screen to cast my ballot. They actually give me a paper ballot that I fill out, and then I slide it into a machine that scans it. That whole sliding into the machine part, they got to get rid of that part. So then that way we can get them hand counted and have them counted in a much more efficient, well, I don't know if efficient might be the right word. I think that's the whole point for throwing those things, scanning them through a machine. But I still believe that hand counting would be the best way to go, because you can have poll watchers and other officials overseeing all of that with the whole process. Anyway, moving on. Gabbard has regularly briefed President Donald Trump and White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles about her investigation into election integrity, along with other senior officials involved, including senior Justice Department officials and others. Reports have suggested that Gabbard is expected to prepare a report on her investigation. The administration has discussed executive orders on voting ahead of the midterm elections. President Trump and his entire team are committed to ensuring a U.S. election can never be rigged again. Director Gabbard is playing a key lead role in this important effort, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said. Since April, DNI Gabbard has been talking about election security, and this includes Gabbard on April 10. Quote, "I've got a long list of things that we're investigating. I have the best of the best going after this, election integrity being one of them. We have evidence of how these electronic voting systems have been vulnerable to hackers for a very long time and vulnerable to exploitation to manipulate the results of the voting or votes being cast, which further drives forward your mandate to bring about paper ballots across the country so that voters can have faith in the integrity of our elections." And let's see, the DNI said on April the 30th, we have more coming for the assassination of Bobby's father, Senator Kennedy, and MLK's assassination, and we continue our extensive investigations around exposing the very serious issues we have related to election integrity, illegal abuses of FISA, Crossfire Hurricane, and others. And then Gabbard emphasized on July 24th, President Trump nominated me as Director of National Intelligence to look for the truth around these issues related to election integrity. This is something I have worked on a lot as a member of Congress. This is something of paramount importance, obviously, to President Trump, but really to the American people, to have faith and trust in the integrity of our democratic republic. And so we've really spent the last few months since I've been on this job focused on finding the truth, very simply, finding the truth to bring about transparency and accountability. I know that our team, again, on multiple issues, including on election integrity, we're going to continue to investigate to find the truth and tell the truth. Quote, "When we look at the future of our country as a democratic republic and the American people's ability to have faith that when they go and cast a vote at the ballot box, that the will of the people will be respected by those in government, whether they be Democrats or Republicans, this is literally what is at stake here," Gabbard said in July. And there you have it from Breitbart. We'll head to the next. Daily Caller, let's see. Okay, so New York Post. I'm going to play this video first, but after this, New York Post, they also have an article, which I probably won't go through because the Breitbart article was really detailed. But regardless, if I go through it or not, I'll link it either way. So this is from Daily Caller. Warner slams Tulsi Gabbard. Quote, "This is a person who's got no business interfering in elections. If this doesn't concern the heck out of every American, it sure as hell should." Obviously doing some more gaslighting. That's all the Democrats seem to want to do these days, without even pointing out the fact that Tulsi Gabbard, she has a mandate as the head of the DNI to keep our election integrity secure, which is exactly why she was there in the first place. So let's take a look at this.
This is Director of National Intelligence that is affirmatively moved to cut back the Foreign Malign Influence Center on elections. What the heck is she doing on...
Maybe there might be foreign influencers in our elections, bozo.
The FBI serving a domestic warrant. You know, if this doesn't concern the heck...
Because just as we found out from the Breitbart article, she's also being tasked with securing our elections on the domestic level. And also, for all we know, there are other foreign actors at play. I mean, I think it's already common knowledge at this point that Russia's always trying to interfere in our elections. You know, the Democrats, they never want to tell us the end of that. And the same with China, the same with North Korea, all of these actors against our country. They're constantly trying to meddle in our elections. I mean, Democrats only told us that about 30 billion times with regard to Russia. So seems kind of fitting that Tulsi Gabbard might want to be, I don't know, investigating the election integrity, even if it's in Georgia or any other part of the country.
Out of every American, it sure as hell should. This is a person who has got no business interfering in elections. And to frankly follow up on President Trump's obsession about the fact that he lost in 2020, that he lost the state of Georgia.
Hey man, I think that was a blessing in disguise.
So would like to see the underlying basis for the warrant in the first
It gave him
place.
4 years to stack up his chessboard quite effectively.
Skulking around in a baseball cap, the picture that was posted, it's... You never thought you could make this stuff up.
Senator, it seems like we're moving towards some sort of agreement on funding. What sort of...
That would be great.
If there's a CR for DHS
It's like, oh, thank God somebody changed the subject.
I'm going to leave
getting a little hot under the collar.
To others, I mean, well, all we want is for the chaos around ICE to stop. I think we laid out a set of reasonable reforms. I think the White House appears, my understanding, that's not overwhelmingly Americans say what they see on the streets of Minneapolis.
Not really concerned with that. That's not really the subject of this part of the video.
Talking is such a notable departure
It
from the
tells
last
me that
time.
even this White House understands public sentiment, that the public in the country is overwhelmingly against ICE unleashed on the American public, and they...
Well, then why did the popular majority vote for Trump then, dummy? That doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense to me now, does it? It's not ICE unleashing itself upon the people. It's upon the illegal immigrants. Not only the criminal ones, of course, that's who they're going after right now. But I think the American people would be perfectly fine with them going after everyday illegal immigrants who have not committed crimes inside the country, aside from sneaking into our country illegally or being allowed into our country. Most of whom, from what I understand, they don't even go to their court dates. They skip their court dates. Like poll after poll, it shows that the majority of Americans are all about mass illegal immigrant deportations. Okay, so let me just at least take a look at this. So it's from the New York Post. DNI Tulsi Gabbard takes a leading role on 2020 election fraud investigation. So just that title alone tells me that we've pretty much already got everything else out of the Breitbart article. The Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, has taken a leading role in probing alleged fraud in the 2020 election, culminating earlier this week in a raid with FBI agents at the Georgia polling office. As far back as April, Gabbard said her team uncovered evidence of vulnerability in electronic voting systems, but the Office of the DNI has long been tasked with defending elections from foreign influence. Okay, so yeah, I'll also link that as well. And you know what? Matter of fact, I'll repost this too if you do want to look at the rest of that. Your account may not be allowed to perform this action. Please refresh the page. What? Let me try it again. Sometimes X gets a little weird. Yeah, see, there you go. Worked fine. All right, so moving on to GOP. President Trump's True Social. America is setting records in every way, and our growth numbers are among the best ever. The only thing that can slow our country down is another long and damaging government shutdown. I am working hard with Congress to ensure that we are able to fully fund the government without delay. Republicans and Democrats in Congress have come together to get the vast majority of the government funded until September, while at the same time providing an extension to the Department of Homeland Security, including the very important Coast Guard, which we are expanding and rebuilding like never before. Hopefully, both Republicans and Democrats will give a very much needed bipartisan yes vote. And we shall see. I mean, the deadline's supposed to be tonight at 11:59 p.m. Markwayne Mullin shutting down DHS doesn't prevent ICE from doing their job. They will be funded for the next 3 to 4 years because of the One Big Beautiful Bill. The president has come out and said, listen, I will work with the Democrats, but the theater on this is absurd.
What's your take on what's going to happen here?
Well, Martha, we're still kind of negotiating through this process. The Democrats aren't really negotiating in good faith. Their demands for DHS is unreasonable. I mean, a while ago you showed a clip of Patty Murray. Patty Murray even said earlier this week that shutting down DHS doesn't prevent ICE from doing their job. In fact, it only prevents people from getting relief from FEMA. And so what the Democrats are proposing is ridiculous. If we shut down DHS, first of all, that's only about 3% of the government. ICE is still going to be funded for the next 3 or 4 years because of appropriations we put in on One Big Beautiful Bill. What it does shut down is FEMA. It shuts down Secret Service. It shuts down TSA, and it shuts down our Coast Guard.
Well, it's a very, very partial shutdown of each of those agencies. It's not going to fully shut down Secret Service to the point where Trump has to walk around completely vulnerable. It's still going to be fully staffed, at least the essential employees, which my understanding is that the majority of all of these departments are majority essential. So you would just get like clerical positions, administrative positions, data collection, just those kind of positions that are deemed non-essential. They will be the ones furloughed until they get the funding, whereas everybody else has to come in, but they won't get a paycheck.
And so we're trying to get an impasse. President Trump has come out and said, listen, I'll work with Chuck Schumer. I'll work with the Democrats. I'll do what we can. But what the likely path is, Martha, is we'll probably end up having to spin off the 5 bills, which will fund roughly 97% of the government. And then we're trying to do at least a short-term CR for 2 to 4 weeks, possibly. We've asked for actually 6 weeks. And try to work out their differences here. It's actually absurd what this political theater that the Democrats are doing here with DHS.
All right, Senator Markwayne Mullin.
Well, working it out over the next 6 weeks, it's clear and it's simple what Democrats want, and equally stupid. They just want ICE to be defunded. That's all they want. If you don't give them 100% defunding of ICE, then they're just going to play stupid games, and they're going to cross their arms and say, no, we're not going to fund DHS. We're not going to fund any of it. And anyway, regarding FEMA, I'm not sure if it'll freeze funding to people impacted by natural disasters, but that's certainly possible. I would think that the funding has probably already been allocated for all of that. But on the other hand, I'm not sure. So if anybody's due to get any kind of disaster relief from FEMA, and if they end up shutting down, or a quote unquote shutting down DHS for any length of time, will you still get any payments from FEMA? I honestly don't know. I would think that you probably would, because they've probably already passed all of that, especially if you've already been getting funding, or if they've already agreed to funding, like whether if it's from hurricanes or from the wildfires or what have you. And we've got this from Senator Rand Paul. No more welfare for refugees until Congress balances the budget. America can't afford to be the world's sugar daddy when our own citizens are struggling. My amendment strips over $5 billion in refugee welfare from the bill. Let's put Americans first. And that's what I was alluding to at the very beginning of the episode. I think that's a fantastic idea. I don't think refugees, maybe for like a couple of weeks or something, maybe it could be considered a case-by-case basis. But I would say for the most part, no, we shouldn't be funding anybody who's not an American citizen. If you want to come to the country or come to the United States as a refugee, then you're an adult. You got to take care of yourself. Now, if they're minors, maybe there could be a case to be made about that, with them having some sort of taxpayer-funded programs directed at them. But I would say for the most part, when it comes to any foreigners who are not Americans, they shouldn't be taking advantage of our welfare system at all. At least not in my
Freelance
opinion.
journalists discovered recently that billions of dollars have been stolen from welfare programs in Minnesota. Congress didn't discover this theft, a member of the public did. How did Congress respond? Did Congress open an investigation? Did Congress claw back the money from Minnesota? No. Congress simply decided to give another $5 billion in refugee welfare. My amendment says stop. No more welfare for refugees until a nationwide investigation of the level of this fraud. No more welfare for refugees.
Hey, man,
until
I'm all about
Congress
that.
Balances the budget. America can't be the world's sugar daddy when we can't even afford the welfare for our own citizens. Many refugees are good people. Frankly, some of the best
Well, to be fair, a lot of
Americans
people shouldn't even
just
be on
got
welfare
here.
anyway.
But our welcome mat should not be a welfare check. Anyone who sponsors immigrants or refugees should be responsible for their welfare. Charity is when you give your money. Any group assisting immigrants or refugees should themselves be responsible for the welfare of the
Private
refugees.
funding.
So my amendment will
Sure.
remove from the bill a little over $5 billion from the refugee welfare programs. And I ask for a yes vote.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm all about that. I can't argue against that. And another one, Senator Rand Paul, he was on the news earlier today. If Congress is serious about welfare fraud, like we saw in Minnesota, why push a bill with another $5 billion for refugee welfare? I'm offering an amendment to return that $5 billion to taxpayers. No more spending without real reform. Vote yes on my amendment. I have a feeling that this $5 billion in refugee welfare was 100% conceived by Democrats, passed by Democrats, and I'm sure it was all just jammed into this bill that was passed in the House and made its way into the Senate. And you know, how they play their games, how they have to go back and forth, and okay, well, you can add this, but if you do that, we're not going to vote for this, and well, you got to vote for this if you want us to vote for that, you know, include this, include that, so whatever. I'm sure it was just buried in that bill somewhere, and Senator Rand Paul found it and decided to push back against it, and I'm actually glad he did.
Congress cared so much about addressing welfare fraud of the kind we found in Minnesota. Why is the Senate today considering a spending package that includes yet another $5 billion in taxpayer-funded welfare for refugees? Can Democrats and big government Republicans be so obtuse as to propose spending more than $5 billion to provide handouts for refugees after federal prosecutors and
all of this should be frozen at the very least while they investigate
Minnesota's Somali community to defraud as much as $9 billion in taxpayer money? It seems, sadly, the answer to that question is yes. Left to operate in the shadows, there is nothing that will stop the big spenders from spending big. My amendment would return to taxpayers
maybe this wasn't on the
$5
news.
billion that the big spenders want to continue spending on refugee welfare. The good news is my amendment is germane, which simply means that it requires a mere simple majority to pass. If every Republican votes to support my amendment, we can put an end to welfare for refugees. The bad news is that even the Republican Party has its share of big spenders. But even if the big spenders defeat my amendment to defend the taxpayers, I will at least expose the arrogance of those who will always vote to steal from the people because they think they know how to better spend your money.
Come on, Senator Rand Paul, we know what money looks
like. Big spenders thought they could just get away with it.
Ooh, it's in a briefcase,
like
so it's definitely going to dirty hands.
Every one of this massive bill's 1,539 pages contains a directive on how the people's money should be spent. The $5 billion in refugee welfare includes health care benefits similar to Medicaid. The American people deserve to be frustrated. The average employer-sponsored health insurance plan is now over $27,000, and Congress is focused on providing free health care for refugees. Still, after Americans have been compelled to pay for refugee health care, shelter, transportation, and food, they're all expected to provide more for refugees. The $5 billion in refugee welfare pays for daycare for children. For many Americans, this is an expense of hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a month. But whether you have kids or not, you're expected to pay for refugee daycare. And we've all seen the fraudulent daycare centers in Minnesota. We won't soon forget the Leering Center, and even that is not all. The $5 billion in refugee welfare pays for English learning education, employment training, and job placement services. Refugees can even receive loans to start their own businesses.
Oh, good
The
grief.
recent welfare scandal in Minnesota shows
From
us
that
how
$5 billion?
important it is
That's insane.
to stop the open-ended funding of refugee resettlement. The resettlement programs that are funded by this bill determine where in the United States refugees are placed and are supposed to encourage economic self-sufficiency. But a recent report from the Center for Immigration Studies noted
mandated,
that
if anything.
54% of Somali-headed households in Minnesota receive food stamps, and 73% of Somali households have at least one member on Medicaid. Compare this to Americans, it's a stark contrast. Native-born Americans have about 7% of the households on food stamps, and 18% have a member on Medicaid. These statistics show that these programs aren't helping to keep people off welfare. They seem to be encouraging people to get on welfare.
Well, yeah, I'm sure a lot of them are just flat out refusing to work.
Government to keep funding these failed programs. And now, after Americans have seen how poorly the refugee welfare program has failed, instead of investigating the fraud, instead of ending the fraud, Congress demands $5 billion more for refugee welfare. I've had enough. Today, my amendment will try to put a stop to this, and we'll see if enough Republicans, if all the Republicans vote for it, we would kill it.
Okay, all right, well, we get the idea. And if you break that down, $5 billion divided by 350 million Americans, that'd be every single American man, woman, and child, regardless of if you're a taxpayer or not. That equals up to about $14.28 per American to pay for that $5 billion. So what, essentially what amounts to a fast food combo meal today, which is insane to say, but I mean, that's pretty much what it equals out to. And one more from Rand Paul. The Somali fraud exposed a broken system. Instead of reform, Washington spent $5 billion more. If Republicans can't cut a fraction of the deficit, they aren't serious about debt. Yeah, I think most of them really aren't serious about it. See how your senator voted. How Republican senators voted on ending welfare for refugees. And so all the yays, and then we've got the nays. And it looks like my two senators, where's Moody? Ashley Moody. M-O. Yep. So she voted yes. And Rick Scott, yep, also voted yes. So it looks like both of my senators voted yes to end welfare for refugees, if I'm reading that correctly. So yeah, and there's quite a few nays, man. That's quite a few. It's yeah, and they're all Republicans on, you know, both columns. So anyway, so we got this from Mike Lee. When USADF blocked Doge from accessing their building last year, Democrats applauded. Now we know it is because USADF was hiding bribes, kickbacks, and fraud. I filed the Terminate Unaccountable Spending, Abuse, Deception, and Fraud Act to defund these crooks. So real quick, before I get to Brent Shear's post, let's just see what USADF is. The USADF, it stands for U.S. African Development Foundation, also commonly written as United States African Development Foundation. It is an independent U.S. government agency established in 1980 to provide grants and support to grassroots enterprises and communities in Africa, focusing on poverty reduction, self-reliance, and economic development in underserved areas. So that's what it stands for. So Brent Shear. Remember, Luke, let's see, who is this? Luke Rosiak, his expose on the African Development Foundation after its CFO blocked Doge from entering its building. Well, that CFO is now set to plead guilty to taking bribes. What a shocker. This is going to be on Daily Wire. I believe they're going to paywall me, so I'm going to get ahead of it. And let's see if I can open up a new, where is it? New private window. All right, where is it? All right, we're good. And we'll dig into this a little bit. The chief financial officer of the African Development Foundation, a federal agency affiliated with USAID, of course, will plead guilty to steering grants and contracts in exchange for bribes. The previously obscure African Development Foundation became a darling of the left when its CFO, Matthew Zahui, locked its doors to prevent Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency from entering. Democrat politicians framed it as an act of moral courage, and left-wing media called the group the little agency that could. But on Friday, the Department of Justice said Zahui admitted that he was doing exactly what conservatives had suspected is common in foreign aid, laundering money through poor nations and then back to DC insiders who used it to enrich themselves. According to court papers filed Friday, the African Development Foundation sent $800,000 to a Kenya-based company run by Zahui's friend. The friend paid Zahui a kickback of $12,000, and the company kept $134,886 for doing literally no work. The rest of the money was simply a pass-through where the Kenyan company paid bills that the agency owed to other people. That made it appear that more money was going to African aid as opposed to bureaucratic overhead, and added a layer that concealed where the agency's money was actually going. For example, when USADF needed to pay a past due debt to a staffing vendor, Zahui directed the vendor to invoice company number 1 instead of USADF. Company 1 then invoiced USADF for the vendor's past due amount, but added a markup of over $20,000 to the amount owed. Zahui approved Company 1's invoice even though he knew that Company 1 had provided no services related to the vendor's work. Federal prosecutors in the Office of the U.S. Attorney for D.C., Janine Pirro, said. Zahui has agreed to plead guilty to accepting gratuities and making a false statement to a federal law enforcement officer after he lied to the USAID Office of Inspector General about having received the kickbacks. He could face up to 7 years in prison. USADF Director of Financial Management fraudulent acts betrayed the trust of the American people. The USAID Office of Inspector General's Acting Assistant Inspector General for Investigations, Sean B. Botier, said in a statement, "When they show up, we didn't let them in." The Daily Wire broke the story of Zahui's crimes in May after uncovering a search warrant for Zahui's phone granted by a D.C. judge in November 2024 during the Biden administration. The series, titled "This Foreign Aid Agency Locked Its Doors to Keep Doge Out. Now We Know Why," included details that are redacted in charging papers, which referred to the company only as Co-Conspirator 1. Zahui steered contracts and grants to a firm called Ganium, which was run by a friend named Mina Gakuri. Gakuri and Zahui previously worked together for the Department of Veterans Affairs in California, where Gakuri was in charge of contracts. Gakuri later created his own company designed to exploit the government's 8A law, which allows minority-owned companies to get no-bid contracts. And it looks like it goes on from there. So it's a very long read, and it's going to be on Daily Wire so far. And I think it might be the only Daily Wire article I'll come across in this episode, so it should be easy to see below. And moving on to Todd Blanche. Colin is a rock star who was instrumental in our team's mission of making America safe again. He is a consummate prosecutor who loves God, family, and country, and will serve the president and the American people well. And this is from President Trump's Truth Social. "I am pleased to nominate Colin McDonald to serve as the first ever Assistant Attorney General for National Fraud Enforcement, a new division at the Department of Justice, which I created to catch and stop fraudsters that have been stealing from the American people. My administration has uncovered fraud schemes in states like Minnesota and California, where these thieves have stolen hundreds of billions of taxpayer dollars. Colin McDonald is a very smart, tough, and highly respected America First federal prosecutor who has successfully delivered justice in some of the most difficult and high-stakes cases our country has ever seen. Together, we will end the fraud and restore integrity to our federal programs. Congratulations, Colin. Stop the scams." Moving on to Redline News. Ridiculous. A federal judge just permanently shut down President Trump's executive order that would have required proof of citizenship to register for federal elections. The only reason to do this is to steal elections. All right, let's have a look at this.
I also signed an order to require proof of citizenship to vote in American elections. That was easy. And the Democrats fought me in that. Think of it. Why would they want no voter ID? Because they want to cheat. Why?
Well, because according to the Democrats, they believe that African Americans, they don't know where the license branch is. It's really hard for them to get driver's licenses. And I'm not making that up. Democrats have actually said that.
Why would they want to have no proof of citizenship?
Racist.
We don't want it. We trust everybody. No, they want to cheat. That's all they want to do.
Absolutely.
Think of that. No voter ID.
Absolutely. I mean, anybody who takes the time to vote, they sure as hell have the time to get an ID. And they make it incredibly easy for you to register to vote when you're at the DMV, at least in the state I live in. They make it really easy. I think it's one of those required questions. If you're going to renew your driver's license or get a new license plate, or if you're in there for whatever reason, I think just one of those basic questions they ask you, would you like to register to vote while you're in here? So Mark E. Elias, breaking federal court blocks Donald Trump executive order imposing new requirements for verifying the U.S. citizenship of people registering to vote or applying to receive absentee ballots. It's a big win for the Democratic Party and for fair elections. Yeah, that sounds so fair. That's not an oxymoron if I've ever read one. Okay, so this is on Democracy Docket. I wonder which side they lean. So a lawsuit filed by the League of United Latin American Citizens and Secure Families Initiative and Arizona Students Association against the Trump administration, challenging provisions of Executive Order 14248, which could disenfranchise millions. The plaintiffs allege that President Donald Trump exceeded his constitutional authority in imposing documentary proof of citizenship requirements for the federal registration form, conditioning election funding for states on compliance, which part of the order, and targeting states with extended mail ballot receipt deadlines. They also allege that parts of the order violate the Administrative Procedure Act. The plaintiffs request a court order blocking the administration from implementing the challenge provisions. Additionally, they seek to block the Justice Department from taking any action to prevent the counting of mail ballots received after Election Day in states with extended ballot receipt deadlines. Why don't they want them to count ballots? It's really weird now, isn't it? On April 24th, the court blocked a requirement imposing documentary proof of citizenship for the federal registration form and another requirement to verify citizenship for individuals registering at public assistance agencies. I mean, you really can't make this shit up. It's absolutely insane. On October 31st, the district court permanently blocked the Trump administration from implementing Section 2A of the executive order, which sought to require documentary proof of citizenship on the federal voter registration application. The court also dismissed without prejudice the Democratic Party plaintiff's APA claim regarding that provision. On December 23rd, the Justice Department appealed this order. And on January 30th of this year, today, the district court ruled that Section 2D and Section 3D of Trump's executive order are inconsistent with the constitutional separation of powers and cannot lawfully be implemented. Section 2D required agencies to assess citizenship before providing the federal form to enrollees of public assistance programs, and Section 3D required documentary proof of citizenship on the federal postcard application for military and overseas voters. And there's that from Democracy Docket. So I believe what they're really getting at is that an executive order isn't good enough, that it has to be an act of Congress. At least that's how I'm reading it. The Gateway Pundit, breaking lawless Clinton judge permanently blocks Trump's executive order requiring proof of citizenship to vote or register to vote. And they say a federal judge on Friday permanently blocked key parts of President Trump's executive order requiring proof of citizenship to vote or register to vote. U.S. District Judge Colleen Cotelli permanently enjoined President Trump's executive order. Last March, President Trump signed an executive order preserving and protecting the integrity of American elections. And it says, "This is the policy of my administration to enforce federal law and to protect the integrity of our election process." Section 2, enforcing the citizenship requirement for federal elections to enforce the federal prohibition on foreign nationals voting in federal elections. Within 30 days of the date of this order, the Election Assistance Commission shall take appropriate action to require in its national mail voter registration form issued under 52 U.S.C. 20508 documentary proof of United States citizenship consistent with 52 U.S.C. 20508B3 and a state or local official to record on the form the type of document that the applicant presented as documentary proof of U.S. citizenship, including the date of the document's issuance, the date of the document's expiration, the office that issued the document, and any unique identification number associated with the document as required by the criteria in 52 U.S.C. 21083A5A, while taking appropriate measures to ensure information security. And let's see. So it goes on. I'm not going to read the entire thing. But it says caller Cotelli sided with far left Democratic groups that sued the Trump administration for having the audacity to demand that voters in U.S. elections are actually U.S. citizens. The judge said Trump's executive order violates the Constitution's separation of powers. The Trump administration is expected to appeal the judge's ruling. And let's see if there's anything else. Kyle Cheney, just in. Okay, permanently enjoins President Trump's executive order claiming to impose citizenship requirement to vote or register. In 2024, this wicked judge sent an elderly pro-life protester to prison for 2 years for peacefully protesting outside an abortion center. Paulette Harlow, who is now 76 years old, participated in a peaceful protest at an abortion clinic in 2020 and didn't hurt anyone. Judge Caller Cotelli taunted the poor woman in the courtroom and mocked her for her Christian faith. Wow. So she's also a scumbag to boot. Okay. What a real winner. Well, I don't know about the other red states, but in my state at least, they require some form of ID when you go to vote in person. Every time I bring my voter ID card, although they always ask me for my license first. I think they prefer your driver's license, but your voter ID card will suffice. I mean, they send it to me. I think it's like every 2-3 years, I'll get a new copy of my voter ID card in the mail. All right, so Gunther Eagleman, President Trump just dropped this fire truth bomb. Elections have consequences. We have a silent majority of people. They don't go and riot. The right acts civilly. The left acts violently. We're different. Yeah, that we are.
We'll say it very plainly. Elections have consequences. The people want law and order. And we have a silent majority. You know, we have a silent majority of people. They don't go and riot and everything else.
Well, they did win the popular majority.
They like having a safe city. I get...
Yep, and I believe he's 100% correct. Okay, so there was a fairly large crowd, and we'll have a look at it. I saw numbers that they were claiming exceeded 100,000 people that showed up. This is a protest. I believe it's in downtown Minneapolis. The crowd protesting against ICE in Minneapolis is growing larger every minute. Similar marches are happening all across the country. Minnesotans have had enough. Our country has had enough. ICE out now. So when it comes to metropolitan Minneapolis, it's just shy of 4 million people. It's like 3.5 or 3.6 million people that live in like the greater metro area of Minneapolis. And that was the point I made with my post. A crowd of 100,000 people is only 2.6% of the Minneapolis metro population. The far left is a fractional minority. Of course, that's just my own opinion. So we'll take a look at this crowd that showed up to protest ICE. Doesn't look like there's any sound. So I guess you'll just have to listen to me talking in the meantime. I do have background music, but I always play it really quiet, just in case I have to take a minute to look for something. At least I got something in the background, not just dead silence. I don't want to turn it up too loud because I don't want, you know, like any important videos or any press conferences or anything dramatic that's happening or tragic or what have you. I don't want any like, you know, whimsical piano music playing that might be a little inappropriate. So I try to keep it at a minimum volume. But yeah, man, I mean, look, I'll be fair. There's a lot of people that showed up. I mean, the crowd goes all the way back there. So, you know, 100,000 people, I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe 50,000, whatever. Regardless, it was a large protest, you know, in sub-zero weather. And from Gunther Eagleman, just in, sheriff's deputies are hauling off leftist rioters outside the Whipple Federal Building in Minneapolis. Yeah, but they're so peaceful. That's what the mainstream news keeps telling us. It's all full of just everybody on the left. They're all just like the most peaceful protesters ever. Tom Homan said local police would start cooperating, and he wasn't kidding. Good.
Get back! 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 Get back!
Yeah, it does. It says sheriff on his chest. So they are the county sheriffs. Yeah, that's the game they play. They throw rocks, they throw bricks, they punch agents and cops, and then everybody in the crowd yells, "He didn't do anything, though." Of course, you get all these bonehead photographers swarming around everywhere trying to sell their pictures to the highest bidder on the mainstream news. And of course, the left-wing publications. Ones that are still somehow operating today.
What did she do? What did she do?
Articulate the crime!
You told us to stay on the side, and we're staying on the side. What the fuck do you want from us?
Obviously, she isn't, because she's right there.
You told us to stay off the road, and we stayed off the road. What the fuck do you want from us?
That's the game they play. You know, all the cameras conveniently turn off, then they cause mayhem, then they all stand back on the sidewalk, And then they turn the cameras back on. We didn't do anything. What the fuck is wrong with you?
What could she have done differently?
But look, I wasn't there. So what the hell do I know? But the footage appears to confirm they are arresting leftist violent agitators, and that's the local cops doing that. So that is good news. Libs of TikTok, Aurora Public Schools in Colorado. This is not in Minnesota. This is in Colorado. Shut down today because all their teachers are at the anti-ICE protests. Now just imagine what these teachers are doing in the classroom. Yeah, that's a very fair question, or a very fair point. Homeschool your kids. And this is from Aurora Public Schools. There will be no classes for students tomorrow, January 30th, at all APS schools and Pickens Technical College due to a higher than anticipated number of staff absences that continue to grow across the district. As a result, we'll be switching tomorrow to the professional release day that was originally scheduled on Friday, February 6th. So in other words, the professional development day, which is a day that teachers and staff and administrators, they have to show up because they have to do a workshop. They have to go over certain curriculums and changes to whatever programs that they have rolling out. You know, it's a professional development day. It's a day where they're supposed to be actually doing work. So I guess they're just going to scrap all that and they're just going to let them protest ICE instead. So anyway, so staff who have not submitted absences should still report to their schools and sites, which of course, if they don't, they're going to be protected by their unions anyway. Please visit aurorarac12.org for important details about before and after school care, free grab-and-go meals, and blah, blah, blah. We recognize the impact this may have and sincerely apologize for the inconvenience this will cause many of our families. We greatly appreciate your patience and flexibility as we navigate the situation. Schools will reopen and assume regular schedules on Monday, February 2nd. So, look, if anything, it's just going to piss off more parents, and they're going to get to the bottom of why they're shutting down their children's school for a day that was not scheduled to be closed. So even though they didn't mention the anti-ICE protest in this message, I mean, all these parents are going to quite clearly figure out exactly why the school was shut down. And if anything, all it's going to do is just make more people, if anything, either sympathetic to ICE or they're going to be really pissed off at all these leftists that are now closing down their children's schools, especially the teachers. I mean, Libs of TikTok makes a really good point. You know, all these teachers that are protesting ICE, what are they really teaching your kids in class? God only knows. All right, Caitlin Collins. President Trump calls Alex Preddy, the man killed by federal agents less than a week ago, an agitator, and says his stock has gone way down. And this is President Trump's True Social from today at 1:26 a.m. I swear, man, President Trump never sleeps. Agitator and perhaps insurrectionist Alex Preddy's stock has gone way down with the just released video of him screaming and spitting in the face of a very calm and under control ICE officer, and then crazily kicking in a new and very expensive government vehicle. So hard and violent, in fact, that the taillight broke off in pieces. It was quite a display of abuse and anger for all to see, crazed and out of control. The ICE officer was calm and cool, not an easy thing to be under those circumstances. Make America great again. Look, he was calm before the taillight was kicked out. And as soon as he kicked out the taillight, that's when the officer, I assume him to be an ICE officer, he was kind of pissed off at that point because he jumped out, he walked up to Alex Preddy and he shoved him off the street. You know, there was a scuffle. It was difficult to tell if he actually got arrested or not. I don't think he did because I'm sure they probably would have reported that he was arrested a week before he was shot. But yeah, he did get into that altercation. I did play that on this show earlier this week, that video in its entirety. So if you want to go back, I think it might have been on Tuesday or possibly Wednesday. And we'll move on to Nick Sordor. Breaking operational manual posted in the Minnesota anti-ICE signal chat, which is an app. It's I think it's one of those anonymous or encrypted. I think it's one of those encrypted apps that you can use. Called for militants like Alex Preddy to create flashpoints with federal agents in the streets, per documents obtained by Cam Higbee. This is a full-on insurrection. Their stated goals are to inspire people to take more militant action, escalate, and de-arrest illegals. We need to see mass arrests over this. I mean, I would imagine that they could probably link this to whether if it's Antifa or whatever you want to call it. I'm sure that it's all linked in some way or another. So I would hope that they're going to investigate this. I'll just read just the highlighted portions. Why follow ICE? Our goals when following ICE are to cut or throw ICE off their course, waste their time, and force them to drive away. And they highlighted number 4, escalate at ICE abductions and create potential flashpoints. I'll just read 2 and 3. Alert at-risk people to ICE presence. Make the whole neighborhood aware of ICE presence to get them outside and resisting. So yeah, I mean, obviously, fighting back. What is a flashpoint? Flashpoints are specific times and places where a crisis quickly and dramatically escalates. When we say flashpoint, we mean any time and place where masses of people are directly confronting the armed force of the state. There are several places across the Twin Cities metro that already have or could in the future escalate into larger, more sustained confrontations. Another murder, a prolonged and escalating abduction attempt, fascist civilians escalating violently, or mass protests that spill out into an escalated confrontation with the state are all potential situations that could lead to flashpoints. These possibilities are dangerous, but they are also sites at which we can escalate our resistance and inspire people into taking more militant, organized action. We need to be prepared for these moments. We need to keep each other safe, and we need to be able to escalate when it's strategic. Yeah, this totally doesn't sound like an insurrection. Determine the goal. Is the goal to stop an abduction, de-arrest someone, multiple individuals, create a blockade to prevent ops from coming or going, push back on the creation of a boundary, or something else? Consider what it will take to accomplish the chosen goal and whether the rest of your present AG is on board with said goal. Is it achievable based on who is present? And so on and so forth. And I will give a repost to that direct link to my profile in the description below once again. Or you can go to Nick Sordor at Nick Sordor. It was Cam Higbee who obviously posted these originally because he's got his giant watermark splashed all across the documents. And he can be found at Cam Higbee. And you can view them there also. And from Homeland Security, this was about 11 hours ago as of this recording. If you are in this country illegally, we will hunt you down, arrest you, and you will never return. Recent arrests include pedos, violent assailants, and robbers. Find more public safety threats arrested from your community. And you can go to dhs.gov to apparently view that information right here. And they do have search fields, so you can choose your state. Let's see if I'll choose my state, and so I'll go with search. Country of origin. I mean, you could search by country of origin. Also, just you can enter search terms. I'm assuming like you can, like whatever it is that they're convicted of, you could type that in. Tampa, Florida. That's not far from where I live. I live in St. Pete, so that's right across the bay. But yeah, so there you go. They've got all these names. You could search it that way. How many pages are there? 170 pages just in one state. Do they have it in its entirety? Let me take a look. How many pages are they up to now? Last time I checked, it was like 20-some thousand or something like that. 1,688. There's 2 separate pages. I think that, this is the worst of the worst, but they have another database that has a list of all of the criminal illegals that they have arrested. And last time I checked, the page was like up to like 20 or 30,000, and each page had like 20 individuals on it. So yeah, they've arrested a lot of people. And so, of course, she goes through some of the mugshots of some of the people that were most recently arrested and what their crimes were. And they do this just about every single day, Homeland Security. They're just posting just name after name, mugshot after mugshot, day after day, week after week. And we'll roll on to the next. I'm sure it's still going to be related. So we got this post from Thomas Homan. The dedicated, talented, and compassionate men and women of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the Office of Refugee Resettlement at U.S. Department of Health and Human Services continue to tirelessly run down hundreds of thousands of leads and work numerous investigations to locate more than 300,000 unaccompanied alien children that the Biden administration turned over to unvetted sponsors they lost track of and weren't looking forward. I think he meant to say looking for. Through their outstanding efforts, they have so far been able to locate more than 145,000. Really? They found that many? Well, I know the FBI, the number they were giving out, I believe, was like around 15,000 that they had located over the last year. So for all of the different agencies, departments to all of together collectively have found that many, that's incredible news. President Trump promised that we would find these children, and under his strong leadership and with his unwavering support, the patriots at these and other partners agencies have been and will continue to do just that. So there you have it from Tom Oman. And from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, this was earlier today. Thank you. This patriotic family delivered a care package of snacks, hand warmers, and more for our brave law enforcement officers in Minneapolis. ICE officers are enduring nonstop assaults, vehicle attacks, death threats, and freezing temperatures while they fight to protect America. The support of millions of patriotic Americans means the world to us. And let's see what the letter says. Thank you doesn't express how thankful our family is for your service. You face unbelievable obstacles every day. There are so many American patriots that are praying for you without ceasing. I think that's ceasing. God bless you and protect you, the blank family of Omaha. And there you have it, man. Like, they sent a care package. There was somebody in the comments that said, like, I wouldn't eat anything that's sent to you, no matter who they say that they are. I don't know where that comment was, but it was down here somewhere. They're like, I don't think it's a very good idea for you to eat anything, no matter how patriotic they sound in their letters. And I definitely agree with that. Using hand warmers, that's one thing, but eating food that's being sent to you in a care package may not be the best idea for ICE to be doing that. But anyway, that was really thoughtful of them. It was a very cool thing. Homeland Security. These will not be warehouses. They will be well-structured detention facilities meeting our regular detention standards. So Insider Paper reported this. Just in, ICE is buying massive warehouses across the U.S. to expand a nationwide detention network. DHS has already purchased facilities in at least 8 states, including a $102 million site in Maryland and a $70 million warehouse in Arizona. And, well, it was actually the Washington Post who reported that. Update comment by DHS on Washington Post report, which, of course, they already tagged that, and I already read the first part of it. But they go on to say DHS law enforcement is conducting law enforcement activities across the country to keep Americans safe. It should not come as news that ICE will be making arrests in states across the U.S. and is actively working to expand detention space. Thanks to the One Big Beautiful Bill, ICE has new funding to expand detention space to keep these criminals off American streets before they are removed for good from our communities. And for them to be purchasing more facilities, it sounds like that they're probably going to be ramping up their efforts in the months to come, because after they get rid of all of the criminal illegals, the ones who have broken laws in our country, that doesn't mean they're just going to pack up and go home. There's still millions of illegal immigrants in the country. So I would imagine that these facilities are going to probably be used in part for them, at least for processing. I mean, I doubt that they're going to hold them in detention for an extended period of time, but I'm sure they will for the criminals. And from Tricia McLaughlin, she is the Assistant Secretary for the Department of Homeland Security. And she says, attributable to Dr. Sean Conley, Acting Director and Chief Medical Officer, Office of DHS Health Security, a pediatrician examined him and found no medical concerns. Okay, so let me just start with this first. Tammy Duckworth, Democrat, Senator Duckworth, says Trump's ICE snatched this bright, happy 5-year-old from his driveway. They shipped him 1,300 miles to suffer without his mother in a squalid Texas detention center. And now he's growing ill. Democrats are fighting to end this cruelty. Liam is not a criminal. Let him go. No, it was his father was a criminal with, I believe, had convictions. And instead of remaining with his son, he took off running. He literally abandoned his son. And if you've been following Politics Daily or even this show, then you're already quite familiar with this situation where it was below freezing and his father just took off running because agents were pursuing him and he just left his 5-year-old behind. So what were they going to do? Were they just going to leave him on the street? Of course not. So anyway, it goes on to say, it is standard policy to provide medical care from the moment an alien enters ICE custody. This includes medical, dental, and mental health intake screening within 12 hours of arriving at each detention facility, a full health assessment within 14 days of entering ICE custody or arrival at a facility, and access to necessary medical appointments and 24-hour emergency care. This is the best health care many of these individuals have received in their entire lives. Ensuring the safety, security, and well-being of individuals in our custody is a top priority at ICE. illegal aliens are provided with 3 meals a day that are certified by dietitians, including pediatric considerations. So there you go. Tammy Duckworth sounds like she's just kind of a little bit full of shit. All right, so U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, $10 million reward for Chapitos Sinaloa cartel leader, Ivan Archivaldo Guzman Salazar, and his 3 brothers, known as the Chapitos, inherited drug trafficking networks from their notorious father, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman Loera. Guzman Salazar is a fugitive and should be considered armed and dangerous. And they got a $10 million reward for this asshole. So if you know where he is, you could get so much money, you'll never have to work another day in your life, as long as you're responsible with money. Sinaloa cartel leader, conspiracy to distribute a controlled substance, running a continuing criminal enterprise, and money laundering. You can send tips to 866-DHS2 ICE. Rolling on to the next. Wait, let me just double check. It was 10 million. Yeah. All right. Just making sure I got the number right. CBP, a pedo S offender, has been arrested. This morning, Border Patrol agents in St. Paul, Minnesota, apprehended this Mexican illegal alien who has a criminal history, including assault of a child. And this is just another individual that they're protecting up in Minnesota, desperately trying to keep him on the streets, not off the streets. And the U.S. Attorney in Massachusetts, fraud disguised as activism or charity is still fraud. Founder and former CEO of Boston-based nonprofit, previously lauded as a social justice advocate, sentenced on federal public corruption charges related to multiple fraud schemes. You almost can't make this up. Former Bostonian of the Year has been sentenced for fraud. Monica Cannon Grant used thousands of dollars donated to nonprofit to pay for personal expenses, then lied about her income to secure subsidized housing benefits, defrauded COVID-19 relief fund, among other things, because she's probably just another one of these modern liberal women that just don't believe in accountability. Accountability just doesn't exist in this world anymore. I could do whatever I want. And from justice.gov, from Boston, the founder and former chief executive officer of a Boston-based nonprofit was sentenced today in federal court in Boston for using thousands of dollars in donations to Violence in Boston. Wow. To pay for personal expenses, defrauding the city of Boston out of COVID-19 relief funds and rental assistance money. Also defrauding the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office out of community reinvestment grant funds. Also filing false tax returns and failing to file tax returns for 2 years. Monica Cannon Grant, age 44, of Taunton, was sentenced by U.S. District Court Judge Angel Kelly to 4 years probation. Really? That's all she got? With 6 months of home detention and 100 hours of community service. This is insane. She was also ordered to pay restitution of $106,003, as well as forfeiture in an amount to be decided at a later date. The government recommended a sentence of 18 months in prison. Even that is insane. She should have gotten like 10 years. There's people who falsely filed for PPP loans during the COVID era, which is the payment protection program or whatever they called it, essentially telling the government that you have a small business when they in fact did not. And they got like $10,000 here, $20,000 there. Most of those people got 10 years in prison for that. They were convicted for wire fraud and another form of fraud, or bank fraud. I think it was bank fraud and wire fraud. They were handing out 10-year federal sentences like it was nothing, like it was freaking candy. And she gets what was it, 4 years of probation and then 6 months of freaking house arrest? You got to be kidding. Anyway, in September of 2025, Cannon Grant pleaded guilty to 18 counts. 18 counts. 3 counts of wire fraud conspiracy. 10 counts of wire fraud. I mean, she's lucky she didn't get prison for the rest of her life with all those counts. Because like I said, with the PPP loans, they were convicted for 1 count of wire fraud and 1 count of bank fraud, and they were giving them 10-year sentences. 1 count of mail fraud, 2 counts of filing false tax returns, and 2 counts of failing to file tax returns. In March of 2023, Cannon Grant was charged along with her co-conspirator and late husband, Clark Grant, in a 27-count superseding indictment. Clark Grant's charges were dismissed in May of 2023 due to his death. Wow, that's not good. Cannon Grant and Clark Grant had previously been charged in an 18-count indictment in March 2022. In 2020, Cannon Grant was lauded as Bostonian of the Year and social justice advocate, recognized for being a voice for the community and social justice advocate. So basically, she knows people. She knows a lot of people, and that's why she only got a few years of probation. She got 6 months of house arrest where she doesn't have to do jack shit. Probably gets to just lay around the house and watch Netflix all day. So anyway, it says here that she conspired to defraud Boston's Office of Housing Stability by concealing thousands of dollars in household income in order to obtain $12,600 in rental assistance from the city of Boston. So she was some chief executive officer of some nonprofit, probably getting paid like $300,000 a year. And even that wasn't good enough. She wanted to defraud the city to get freaking rental assistance, because I'm sure there's plenty of people in Boston who could really use every dollar they could possibly get for help with rent. Because I'm sure renting in Boston probably ain't cheap. But nope, she just wanted to take that money all for herself. So anyway, we'll just move on to the next thing. That'll be linked below if you want to take a look at all of that. It's a pretty long read. So anyway, and we got this from Rapid Response from DAG Todd Blanche, Deputy Attorney General serving under AG Pam Bondi. Quote, just last year, the FBI located over 2,700 victims of child exploitation. So we'll hear it in here. So rather than just read the whole,
I want to talk for a minute about something that is important. Every single day of the year, the Department of Justice investigates and prosecutes those who abuse and traffic young women and children. Just last year, the FBI located over 2,700 victims of child exploitation. The Department of Justice found and terminated 3.8 million dark web pedophile accounts. In August, we charged 11 defendants for extensive sex trafficking in Los Angeles of illegal immigrants and underage women. Last month, we charged 5 men who were engaged in a sadistic sextortion network of deranged young men.
Did we already read? I think we already saw this, didn't we?
Over the past
on the YouTube video,
several months last summer and into the fall, we executed Operation Restore Justice, rescuing 205 child victims and arresting 293 offenders. I point this out because I take umbrage at the suggestion, which is totally false, that the Attorney General or this department does not take child exploitation or sex trafficking seriously, or that we somehow do not want to protect victims. We do. There are some select members of Congress and some in the public eye, including those most critical of our efforts at full transparency.
Yeah, okay, we did see that. I distinctly remember him saying that. So, yeah, we'll just go ahead and move on to the next. I mean, not to say it's not important. It's extremely important. All right, so FBI Most Wanted, Eileen Beth Michelhoff was last seen on January 30th of 1989, walking home from school in Dublin, California at approximately 3 p.m. At the time, she was wearing braces on her teeth, had pierced ears and freckles on her cheeks and nose. Help the FBI find her at fbi.gov/wanted/kidnap. And again, it's Eileen Beth Michelhoff and Dublin, California. And this is, here, let me see if I can sharpen that. Yeah, okay, so here we go. That's the missing person flyer. Dublin, California, 1989. And looks like this might be the location where she was last spotted. And yeah, they need your help finding her if you know anything. It was obviously a long time ago. This is on FBI's Most Wanted. I come across these almost every day. It seems like they're posting a different missing person almost every day on this profile. So I figured I might as well show it. Every once in a while, I'll drop one into this list and we'll go through it. Okay. From the White House, by leading the charge against lethal drugs like fentanyl, the Trump administration has prioritized saving American lives. Drug overdose deaths have dropped 23.3% from August of 2024 to August of 2025. And from the Department of Transportation, the Freedom 250 Grand Prix is coming to Washington, D.C. The President and Secretary Sean Duffy with Transportation, they know how to put on a celebration, and he signed the order, which will send the IndyCar circuit, the Grand Prix, to Washington, D.C. for the first time. American speed, American power, American greatness. President Donald J. Trump just signed an executive order launching the first ever IndyCar race through the streets of our nation's capital, the Freedom 250 Grand Prix. So I don't know if, I assume they're still making video games on Indy cars. I'm sure they probably release them every year. where you can choose whatever driver you want. You can participate on the circuit all over the world or wherever it is that they're doing the racing circuit these days. I'm not into sports. I'm not a sports guy, and I don't play video games either. But I could only imagine that they're probably going to take this new track that they're putting together for this Grand Prix, and they're going to probably start adding it to whatever racing video games that they have for the IndyCar. So let's take a look.
The fans have turned up in a huge way this weekend. And it's quite simple. History.
We're in it to win it, bud. 10-4. 3, 2, 1.
And you can hear the crowd. History in the midst. Changes the game totally.
Yeah, by the way, all of that actually happened. They went through all that effort to make this preview for the IndyCar show. That was totally not AI. No, absolutely not. It really wasn't. Don't believe your lying eyes. Okay, so anyway, NTT IndyCar Series, celebrating our independence and honoring the legacy of American motorsport. This summer, IndyCar is coming to Washington, D.C., and it's going to be on August the 21st through the 23rd of 2026. Mark your calendars, Freedom 250 Grand Prix of Washington, D.C., and actually, the St. Pete Grand Prix is going to be happening here in March, I think. It's always the first race of the IndyCar circuit, and it's always right here in St. Pete. And to this day, I still haven't been. Maybe I'll go this year. I don't know. All right, from the White House, President Trump signs executive orders. Maybe I'll just play a minute or so of this. It's looks like 44 minutes. It starts at the 13-minute mark, but I'll repost this if you want to take a look at that. It's also at White House if you want to go check it out there. And it was posted when at 11:58 a.m.
So I have some incredible people, and this is a very exciting thing that we're doing. And it was fast. They've wanted to do it. I understand they've been here hundreds of times over the years trying to do it. And they're going to give you a little bit of history. Roger Penske, everybody knows, he's a legend in many different things, but certainly in racing. He's won the Indianapolis 500 20 times.
I was to say a lot.
On the 18th
I have been to the
time,
Indy 500.
He's been a friend of mine
times.
for a long time, but on the 18th time I said, I think I'm going to give him the Presidential Medal of Freedom because, you know, how do you do that? Japan, Germany, Roger, right? Everybody, they want to win the Indy 500. Right. They spend billions of dollars getting a car, and this guy wins it like every year. He won it so many times that they ended up buying the track. So now he owns the track.
Yeah, I think that's actually true.
It's pretty good. Now he's won it, though. He won it 2 times since he got it. And it's a total of 20. And didn't you win the Daytona 500?
Yes.
How many times?
4 times.
That's all? That's it?
That's it?
That's terrible. I can't believe it. Anyway, if you win it once, it's like great. The guy's amazing. He's a genius. And a real
I think he started with dealerships, I think, right? Roger Penske.
Something that's
I know he owns Penske.
really
Chevrolet is the only one I'm
really
familiar
having
with.
to do with our great 250th birthday, where we're having so many wonderful things.
Yeah, I think it's like a
UFC's
big
coming in,
dealership group or
in front of
something.
The White House with the building literally a stadium. We're going to have over 100,000 people, and this is going to have a lot of people. I won't even say how many people because I think it can set a record for racing. It's going to be very, very important. We're celebrating.
I don't know, man.
Greatness with American
Indianapolis Motor
racing.
Speedway can
It's
seat
gonna
up
be
to
the
like
name of the
700,000 people.
It's going to take place on August 21st through the 23rd, and it's going to be so exciting. And I love the racing. I don't have a lot of time to watch it, but I love the racing. And just before we start, I will say numbers came out this morning. They're phenomenal for the country. So we announced yesterday that for the first time in, I think, 28 years, America made more steel than Japan. Can you believe it? Japan's a big
first time since
country.
1999.
America made more steel than Japan.
So I read. I read that from some government
are
post.
record-setting numbers. Every one of our numbers are doing. We've never had anything like it.
It was
we have over $18 trillion coming into our country.
Commerce.
We're building thousands of plants and all sorts of businesses all over the United States. It's never been anything like it. $18 trillion investment. So we have over $18 trillion being invested in the United States of America. The record was $3 trillion 10 years ago, not by us, by another country.
Yeah, we kind of broke that one.
And we're going to do 18, and I think the 18 is going to go higher. We're just looking at 11 months. The 12th month hasn't come in yet, but it's going to bring us over 18, maybe even hit 20. So you have 18 to $20 trillion coming in, and we've never had anything like it. We have a record we just set, as you know. The S&P 500 just set a new record, 7,000. Nobody thought that was possible in this quick a time. They thought maybe.
Yeah,
at
gold
the end
actually,
of 4 years
or
or 5
gold
years
and
or
silver took a nosedive today.
so. We did it in the first
Silver
year.
dropped like 25%
And we had,
today.
48 stock market highs, Roger. So
Apparently it had to do with
Roger's a
something
big
with
beneficiary 'cause
President
there's a lot
Trump
of stock.
naming
But anybody that has
his
stock,
next
including
nominee
people
for
with
the
401k. So the
for the
economy
chairman
has
of the
never been
Fed.
like this.
I don't know. I
It was
guess the
just
markets
announced
didn't like that for some
crime
reason.
is at an all-time low. Best numbers on crime.
Okay, so yeah, we're already pretty well aware of all the numbers. I mean, he's been going over those numbers pretty regularly for like the last week or so. But yeah, so like, the only Indy 500 races I've been to was in 2005. I was there for that one. I sat at between turn 1 and turn 2. And then the second one was in 2011. That was the 100th running. I had to go to that, and that was amazing. And I had an awesome seat at a section called Tower Terrace, which is right behind pit row. It was awesome. I sat in row L, and I could smell the rubber, smell the gasoline. It was absolutely freaking fantastic. It was only $90 for a seat. I don't know how much it is now, but it was, I mean, I couldn't get over how cheap that actually was. So one of my buddies and I, we went to the race. It was like 95 degrees for the high. I brought no lotion. We were out there from like 6 a.m. until like 4:30 p.m. I was absolutely torched from the sun, but it was a great race. And just by coincidence, 2005 and 2011, if you're any kind of IndyCar expert, or if you follow it closely, you know, a couple of statistics might jump out from those 2 years. 2005 and 2011, the only 2 races I've ever been to, Danica Patrick took first place in both of those, and those are the only 2 times that she ever got into first place in any of the Indy 500 races, just those 2 years. And also, both of those races just happened to be the only 2 times, and both times Dan Weldon won the Indy 500, which is also pretty spectacular. It was just an absolutely crazy coincidence that the only 2 times I ever went were both the races that Dan Weldon won, and unfortunately he passed away. He died in that crash in Las Vegas the same year in 2011 when that happened. I think he might have been a rookie in 2005 maybe. I know Danica Patrick, she was a rookie in 2005, and she was leading the race for like 10, 12 laps, something like that. She was getting close to the end, and then she ran out of gas. All right, so anyway, enough of the Indy 500. So Rapid Response 47, this is about 7 hours ago. Kevin Warsh is a highly qualified man whose nomination has drawn praise from around the financial world. You know he's a great choice if Pocahontas disapproves. So Pocahontas says President Trump just nominated Kevin Warsh to be the next chair of the Federal Reserve. Here's what you need to know. This is all the information I'm going to gaslight you with before you can make your own decision. But before we hear from Pocahontas, let's just take a look at a brief summary on Kevin Warsh. And before I read just this brief information, Grok pulled it from Wikipedia, also from federalreservehistory.org, PBS, CNN, hoover.org, AP News, stanford.edu, whitehouse.gov, ups.com, interestingly, Politico. So some EDU sites, a .gov site, and a couple of other here and there websites. So anyway, this is the brief summary. Kevin Warsh, born in 1970, is an American financier and former Federal Reserve governor from 2006 to 2011, where he helped navigate the 2008 financial crisis. He previously served as a special assistant for economic policy in the George W. Bush White House and worked in mergers and acquisitions at Morgan Stanley. He holds degrees from Stanford University and Harvard Law School. Currently, he is the Shepard Family Distinguished Visiting Fellow in Economics at Stanford's Hoover Institution. He's a lecturer at Stanford Graduate School of Business and a partner at Duquesne, I have no idea how to pronounce that, Family Office. As of January 30th, 2026, President Trump has nominated him to succeed Jerome Powell as chair of the Federal Reserve, pending Senate confirmation. Not sure if the Senate will confirm him. Probably needs 60 votes, so that's probably not going to happen anytime soon. That would be my own wild guess. Let's hear what
President
Pocahontas
Trump
has to
just
say.
nominated Kevin Warsh
Holy
to be
shit,
the next chair
Pocahontas,
of the
damn.
Federal Reserve.
Calm down.
And here's what you need to know. Donald Trump is trying to take
He's
over
evil.
our
He's
nation's
bad.
central bank.
Trump's
by
an evil
installing
Cheeto.
His puppets on its board.
He's got puppets.
First, he tried to
Secret
fire
police.
one board member, Lisa.
He won all 7
Next,
swing states.
He installed his own top economic advisor on the board. Third, his administration
The Gulf of
weaponized
America.
the Justice Department in a sham criminal investigation.
Such a sham.
Trying to push out the current
All right, I'll
chair,
shut up.
Jerome Powell. And now, Trump has nominated a new chair, Kevin Warsh.
Uh-oh.
He's the
Dun, dun, dun.
son-in-law of one of Trump's billionaire donors. And he's also a prior Fed official with a disgraceful track record of bailing out Wall Street instead of supporting American families.
How much campaign money do you think Pocahontas has taken from Wall Street over the years? We already know she's taken over $1 million from Big Pharma. And that was just, I believe that was only over just the last couple of years or the last election cycle or something like that. She's taken millions and millions of dollars.
Back during the 2008 financial
Oh, but we don't want to talk about her
Now,
track
if all
record.
this wasn't bad enough, Trump has publicly demanded a loyalty oath from whoever he nominates. So we know without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, a loyalty oath to the country, dumbass. Not a loyalty oath to Trump personally. A loyalty oath to the United States of America and the Constitution.
In Trump's takeover. If Donald Trump is successful in seizing control of the Fed, America's central bank will turn into the president's own personal political weapon.
Oh no, the interest rates are going to lower. They're going to go down. Oh, the humanity. It's going to be so bad.
He could enrich himself. He could reward his
The horrific
loyalists,
low interest
he could
rates.
Punish his
Please,
enemies.
God, save us.
And who would pay the price? American families. Decisions on interest rates could be made not to protect the economy, but to juice growth ahead of a midterm election.
No, see, Pocahontas, she wants the interest rates to remain high because who benefits from the interest rates? I believe the banks do, right? Don't the banks benefit the most from interest rates? If they set like double-digit interest rates, it's going to be the banks that benefit the most, and probably Wall Street interests, you know, people that probably line her pockets pretty thoroughly.
Then later saddling our country with brutal inflation. Trump's own crypto company, which is right now in the process of getting a federal banking charter, could be granted special Fed accounts or emergency bailout
Could be.
loans.
Keyword,
On the
could
other
be,
side of it,
but probably
banks
won't.
that refuse to
Because
bend
that'll
the
be a
knee
conflict
to
of
Trump
interest.
could see the same kind of privileges that they have taken away. Our entire financial system would be bent around the whims of Donald
How
Trump.
much you want to bet ChatGPT wrote all this up for?
Trump can't appoint his next puppet to the Fed all by himself. The Senate has to approve it. Any senator who claims to care about the independence of
It literally doesn't matter who Trump nominates. It doesn't even matter. It could be Barack Obama himself that he nominates for the chairman of the Fed, and she's going to find something to rail against, something to complain about.
including my Republican colleagues, should refuse to move forward with this nomination, period, until Trump drops his witch hunts of the current Fed chair, Jerome Powell, and Governor Lisa Cook.
Well, dude should stop dumping billions of dollars into a freaking building that should not be fancy in any way, shape, or form. It should be just a solid white building, boring as all hell, has absolutely no taste or any class to it whatsoever. The Fed should just be this soul-sucking office building that just looks just miserable to walk into because it shouldn't even freaking exist in the first place. Anyway, we'll move on to Bernie Morano. You still don't get it, do you, Sherrod Brown? Voters are sick of liberal Democrats like you selling out American workers for cheap migrant labor every time. That's why you got fired. This isn't hard. Temporary protected status was always temporary. Now it's time to go home. So what is he talking about? Sherrod Brown says, I'm calling on Governor Mike DeWine and Senators John Husted and Bernie Moreno to put Ohio communities first and join my call to extend TPS for the Haitian community. So anyway, it says my statement on protecting Ohio's Haitian community. Well, of course, because then they get to get counted in the census, and that's just one step closer to them securing another seat in the House. As I travel the state, I hear the same thing that Governor DeWine has heard from Ohioans. They are concerned about their Haitian neighbors and about the economic impact the expiration of TPS for Haitian Americans will have on their communities. Look, dude, I think in reality, I bet if you ask everyday people where Haitians are living, they're probably not all that thrilled. I hear they're not so good at driving. Apparently, car insurance in the state of Ohio has gone up substantially because they keep crashing their cars all the time. That's why I'm calling on the administration to extend TPS for Ohio's Haitian community now. Haitian Americans don't have a safe place to return to in Haiti, and our communities across Ohio depend on them to help our local economy thrive. Well, look, to be fair, yeah, it's probably not the safest place right now with those roving gangs and, all that craziness that I keep reading about that's going on in Haiti. However, there is some government transition going on right now, and apparently it's on relatively shaky ground, but it's still moving forward. So I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I'm calling on Governor Mike DeWine and Senators John Husted and Bernie Moreno to put Ohio communities first and join my call to extend TPS for the Haitian community. Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, I don't know. I came across it. Figured it was just worth mentioning. RNC Research, Texas Democrat U.S. Senate candidate James Tallarico says atheists are more Christ-like than Christians. And Tallarico says the following, so we'll just hear him say it in the video.
And that applies to Muslims and Hindus. And
listen, I have.
This is, they can learn a lot from Jesus.
Does this bonehead look familiar? James Carville.
Hindus, Buddhists, Sikh,
freaking
Jews,
hillbilly,
Muslims, atheists, agnostics, who are more Christ-like than some of the Christians I serve with in the Texas legislature.
Okay, well, I'd be curious to hear a little more of that, but we only got 20 seconds of it. I don't know. Some people might argue, well, I just wish I could get that 20 seconds back. But anyway, came across that too. All right, Joanna Rodriguez, NRSC has wrapped up the off year with an $88 million haul, and we're ready to protect President Trump's Senate majority in 2026. This is the best off year fundraising since 2021. 70,000 new donors, and it's the lowest burn rate in 4 cycles, and debts from winning the majority are paid. And this is from The Hill. And digging into The Hill, the National Republican Senatorial Committee, or NRSC, raised $88 million in 2025. The campaign arm announced Friday as the party fights to hold on to the Senate in the midterms later this year. It's the NRSC's best off-year fundraising haul since 2021, leaving nearly $20 million in the bank as Republicans enter 2026. We're raising record amounts of money, building an all-star team, and delivering on Trump's agenda, said Senator Tim Scott, Republican of South Carolina, chair of the NRSC, in a statement shared first with The Hill. That off-year foundation will be the difference in winning this November. 2025 was an incredible year, but now is the time to put those resources to work to defend our Senate majority. We're just getting started. After starting 2025 with around $3 million cash on hand, according to FEC filings, the NRSC said it paid off more than $26 million in debt and bills from its successful campaign to win control of the upper chamber in 2024. This year's haul is roughly $10 million more than what the NRSC saw in off year of 23, according to a source familiar. Republicans are on defense this cycle in the Senate, where they hold a 53-47 majority as Democrats grow bullish about taking control of the chamber this fall. Other campaign operations have yet to announce their end-of-year totals, but the Democrat Senate campaign arm ended November with almost $19 million cash on hand. The fundraising arm for the House Democrats nearly doubled their cash on hand throughout this year, closing November with $46 million, just ahead of the National Republican Congressional Committee's $45 million bank account. The Republican National Committee climbed to nearly $90 million in cash on hand in November, according to filings, while the Democratic National Committee lost money, ending with just $12 million in November. And plus, don't forget, the Senate Democrats, they shut down the government for 43 days last year, and it looks relatively likely that they might end up shutting down the government again. So I would say Senate Republicans have quite a bit of ammunition to work with, in addition to the money that they're raising. And we've got this from the House Foreign Affairs Committee majority. It's surprising they tried to hide it. They usually like to brag about their most wasteful and illegal programs. And they have listed out $20,000 for drag shows in Ecuador, $446,700 to expand atheism in Nepal, and also $100,000 to promote gender-inclusive leadership through Ultimate Frisbee in India, and also $300,000 for transgender job fair in Bangladesh. That's what your taxpayer dollars went to. And this was a post responding to Elon Musk by him saying they tried to hide their crimes. And he's responding to Luke Rosiak, who says when Doge went to audit the African Development Foundation, its CFO, locked them out. The move was heralded by Democrats and the media as heroic, which we already got into all that. So yeah, Elon Musk was replying to that. So the House Foreign Affairs Committee majority figured they would just list a few items, a few things that your tax money paid for and my money or my tax money had to pay for. And another one from House Foreign Affairs Committee majority. This is fantastic news. Panama's Supreme Court has officially kicked out communist China from the Panama Canal. Panama upheld its constitution and stood firm against Beijing's exploitative practices, ruling that a Hong Kong-based company controlled by China cannot continue operating the ports at both ends of the Panama Canal. That is great news. That actually should have been headline news for today, but of course there was the Epstein drama that with all the documents that they finally released, over a month late. And then, of course, Don Lemon, he got arrested, which was absolutely hilarious. But anyway, moving on to Department of State from 9 hours ago. Quote, I've ended 8 wars. All of them I thought were going to be maybe tougher than this one, but I think we're getting very close to getting a settlement. And that's President Trump on the Russia-Ukraine war. Let's take a listen.
8 wars. All of them I thought were going to be maybe tougher than this one. But Zelensky and Putin hate each other, and it makes it very difficult. But I think we're getting very close to getting a settlement.
Well, look, can you blame Zelensky?
People, mostly
I
soldiers,
can't.
have been killed.
Dude invaded his country.
Last week they lost 29,000 people. Last month they lost 29,000 soldiers. Can you believe that, fellas?
Last month, almost 30,000.
Lose one race driver, and it's a big deal. 29,000 soldiers in 1 month. 27,000.
Oh yeah, this was during the same event as the IndyCar announcement.
Yeah, I think that
the Grand Prix.
A chance of getting a settlement.
Yeah, man, absolutely wild. I don't know. He says that they're getting close. Not sure if they're really getting all that close. I would say it's really up to Putin. Really, I mean, if I were in Zelensky's position, I mean, I wouldn't concede anything. I mean, if he wants to retain the entirety of Ukraine, he was invaded. I mean, Russia is the aggressor. At least as far as I know, but of course, I don't know everything. All right, from the White House, yesterday, President Trump signed an executive order declaring a national emergency and establishing a process to impose tariffs on goods from countries that sell or otherwise provide oil to Cuba. So it looks like Cuba's going to be in some desperate times because I'm sure they've been getting most, if not probably all of their oil from Venezuela, but they're getting cut off now. Department of State, the Cuban regime will be held accountable for its support of hostile actors, terrorism, and regional instability, endangering the American people. President Trump is delivering where others have failed to hold adversaries accountable. This is what true leadership looks like. Yeah, indeed. This is exactly what true leadership looks like. Today, President Trump signed an executive order declaring a national emergency, establishing a process to impose tariffs on countries that sell or otherwise provide oil to Cuba, protecting U.S. national security and policy from the Cuban regime's malign actions and policies. The order imposes a new tariff system that allows the U.S. to impose additional tariffs on imports from any country that directly or indirectly provides oil to Cuba. The order authorizes the Secretary of State and Secretary of Commerce to take all necessary actions, including issuing rules and guidance to implement the tariff system and related measures. The president may modify the order if Cuba or affected countries may take significant steps to address the threat or align with U.S. national security and foreign policy objectives. The president is addressing the depredations of the communist Cuban regime by taking decisive action to hold the Cuban regime accountable for its support of hostile actors, terrorism, regional instability that endanger American security, foreign policy. The Cuban regime aligns itself with numerous hostile countries and malign actors, hosting their military and intelligence capabilities. For example, Cuba hosts Russia's largest overseas signals intelligence facility focused on stealing sensitive national security information from the U.S. Cuba provides a safe haven for transnational terrorist groups such as Hezbollah and Hamas, and supports adversaries in the Western Hemisphere, undermining U.S. sanctions and regional stability. The regime persecutes and tortures political opponents, denies free speech and press, profits corruptly from the Cuban people's misery, and incites chaos by spreading communist ideology across the region. These actions constitute an unusual and extraordinary threat to U.S. national security and foreign policy, requiring immediate response to protect American citizens and interests. And it goes on from there. I will make sure that will be included below if you want to have a look at the rest of that. And from the U.S. Trade Representative, and that's Jameson Greer. Today, Ambassador Greer joined Guatemala's Minister of Economy, Adriana Gabriela Garcia in signing the U.S.-Guatemala Agreement on Reciprocal Trade, reinforcing regional supply chains and unlocking market access for American agricultural and industrial exporters. And he did sign with El Salvador, if I'm not mistaken, yesterday, the same thing, basically the same agreement. So we're opening up more trade to Guatemala, which is cool, I guess. Not too bad. You know, they're a close neighbor. They're not too far away from the U.S. in Central America. All right, the U.S. Coast Guard defending America through Operation Pacific Viper. Earlier this week, the crew of Coast Guard cutter Seneca interdicted in a go-fast vessel northwest of Ecuador following an airborne use of force stop by Coast Guard Hitron. 3 suspected narco-terrorists apprehended, 4,400 pounds of cocaine was seized, and 33 million plus in illicit drugs stopped at sea before reaching our border. Unique authorities, powerful capabilities, a safer nation. And then they've got a few images that they shared. Set the boat on fire, of course, and I'm assuming that's the same one that they got the drugs off of. And they got a helicopter up in the air. And got another one, another military post from the U.S. Navy. Ship to shore, night or day. The U.S. Marines with 3rd Assault Amphibian Battalion, 1st Marine Division, conduct ship-to-shore operations from the well deck of Wasp-class amphibious assault ship USS Macon Island LHD-8 during quarterly underway amphibious readiness training 26.2 off the coast of California. Court enhances the warfighting proficiency of the Navy Marine Corps team. This routine training forges a more integrated and lethal force, ensuring our sailors and Marines are prepared to respond to crisis and win in conflict. This is nuts, man. This is crazy that we've got vehicles like this in our military. Even I like the propellers at the end of it. But yeah, like these heavily armored vehicles, they just drive right off of the ship and just straight into the ocean. It's absolutely crazy, man. And there they go. Just all on the line, just heading, I'm assuming, toward the shore. And yeah, just doing drills off the amphibious vessel. That is crazy, man. And the Secretary of the Army appreciated the warm welcome in India, and this time with Indian Army leaders. He had great discussions on training, shared technology, including their new AH-64E Apaches and our growing major defense partnership. So he dropped a quick video here.
We're here in India, absolutely thrilled to highlight some of our country's strongest and most lethal weapons. It was an absolute honor getting to see our partners as they're training on the Apaches, and it's absolutely an honor to be here with them.
Well, there you go, man. Secretary of the Army's in India. That's pretty cool. I mean, we should strengthen our ties with India. They're the world's most populated country. And they're a democracy, right? Pretty sure they are. All right, CENTCOM urges IRGC to avoid escalatory behavior at sea. This is out of Tampa, Florida. And yesterday, Iran announced that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, is conducting a 2-day live-fire naval exercise in the Strait of Hormuz, scheduled to begin on Sunday. U.S. Central Command, or CENTCOM, urges the IRGC to conduct the announced naval exercise in a manner that is safe, professional, and avoids unnecessary risk to freedom of navigation for international maritime traffic. The Strait of Hormuz is an international sea passage and an essential trade corridor that supports regional economic prosperity. On any given day, roughly 100 of the world's merchant vessels transit the narrow strait. That's just a bizarre and wild thing to just picture, that we have naval vessels right off the coast of Iran. I think it's headed by the USS Lincoln, I think. I'm pretty sure that's what President Trump said. So we've got a whole bunch of naval ships that's right off the coast of Iran, probably not too far from where they're conducting these drills. And so they're practicing fighting us, and sometimes we're over there practicing fighting them. And I can only imagine probably just beyond view, as close as they would probably be from one another, just like, I don't know, just trying to practice, like how they could take out each other. It's just, I don't know, that's just a bizarre thought to me. Anyway, U.S. forces acknowledge Iran's right to operate professionally in international airspace and waters. Any unsafe and unprofessional behavior near U.S. forces, regional partners, or commercial vessels increases risks of collision, escalation, and destabilization. CENTCOM will ensure the safety of U.S. personnel, ships, and aircraft operating in the Middle East. We will not tolerate unsafe IRGC actions, including overflight of U.S. military vessels engaged in flight operations, low altitude, or armed overflight of U.S. military assets when intentions are unclear, high-speed boat approaches on a collision course with U.S. military vessels, or weapons trained at U.S. forces. The U.S. military has the most highly trained and lethal force in the world and will continue to operate with the highest levels of professionalism and adhere to international norms. Iran's IRGC must do the same. So they are on notice. And we've got this from TSA. New travel perk. TSA PreCheck touchless ID is now available at 33 airports and 77 checkpoints with 5 airlines participating. It will be expanding to 32 more airports by spring of this year. If you have a TSA PreCheck and valid passport, you can look at opting in here, and that'll be on tsa.gov. Security lines. Apparently, it just makes it easier and quicker just to get through security. And NWS Weather Prediction Center, a winter storm will bring a multitude of significant impacts this weekend across much of the Carolinas, the southern Appalachians, and parts of southern Virginia. Travel will become extremely treacherous in areas of heavy snow, along with considerable blowing and drifting. They're talking about a blizzard in the Outer Banks in North Carolina. I've only been there once. It was in like 2016, I think. I went there for 4th of July. And it is way out there. It's real hard to see in this image, but it's not anywhere near the coast. It's like way offshore, the Outer Banks of North Carolina. So let me just bring up the Outer Banks real quick. Let me just full screen this. And it is, yeah, here it is. So it's like way offshore, man. It took like heading to the Outer Banks, like on Highway 64. From this point to where I stayed around Cape Hatteras in this area. I don't know, it was like, what, 2 hours or an hour and a half or something? It was a long drive to get to this point. And what is that, like 50, 60 miles away from the mainland? So it's like way out in the Atlantic. It's awesome, man. It's really cool. It's very beachy. You know, it's like just all sand out there. But to imagine that they're going to be hit with a winter storm so bad that they're going to be dealing with blizzard conditions and at least 8 inches of snow that they're predicting, could potentially be as much as 12 inches of snow out in that area. But anyway, it's going to cover all of North Carolina in its entirety, which is going to get at least 6 inches of snow, 8 inches of snow along the coast, and more than half of Charleston. They're looking at 6 inches of snow, or not Charleston, South Carolina, I mean. But even Charleston getting 4 to 6 inches of snow. I don't know if that's a record for Charleston, but they don't usually get snow, do they? I'm sure they do sometimes, but I just couldn't imagine them getting snow that often. But anyway, so that's what they're looking at. Major impacts highlighted in red on this upper map, including Raleigh and also, of course, Charleston. I mean, even like Atlanta's going to get a little bit. Like they might get, what, a half an inch? Or no, they're just going to get a dusting of snow. They're not going to get a whole lot. But up in the Smoky Mountain area, up on the Tennessee-North Carolina border, they're going to get hit with like 8 inches of snow. So anyway, there is a potential for a blizzard. That's what they're calling for. And that's going to be this weekend. So I guess be on the lookout, especially if you're in that area. I'm sure you've already been hearing nothing but this all week. I'm sure that's all they've been talking about if you happen to live in the Carolinas. All right, moving on to Abigail Slater, trust talk payments for blowing the whistle. So she talks a little bit about whistleblowers. So
hello, everyone from a soon-to-be snowy Washington, D.C. Today, I'm pleased to announce a milestone in criminal antitrust enforcement involving bid rigging and some fraud.
Yeah, freaking car auction website, bid rigging, assholes.
For the first time, the Antitrust Division has made a whistleblower payment under our Whistleblower Rewards Program.
For $1 million?
A $1 million reward paid to an individual whose information led directly to a successful criminal enforcement action.
Yeah, and I said this yesterday. I think it's like 30%. It's somewhere around 30%. If you're a whistleblower and if they recover, let's say like $10 million or whatever, you're entitled by law to receive like 30% of that payout. Just you as the whistleblower, the person who just brought everything out into the open. So it's crazy. Apparently that's how they got this $1 million payout, because the entirety of this settlement was like $3.2 million or something like that from that auction website.
We launched the Whistleblower Rewards Program in July 2025 in partnership with the U.S. Postal Service to encourage individuals with original, credible information about antitrust crimes to come forward. When that information results in criminal fines or other recoveries of at least $1 million, whistleblowers may be eligible for substantial rewards, ranging from 15 to 30% of the money recovered.
That is so much
These
money, dude.
rewards are
That's
funded
crazy.
by penalties paid by the
Hell of an
wrongdoers
incentive.
themselves, not by American taxpayers like you.
Oh, you know the Democrats hate
This
this, man.
whistleblower's information
They hate
helped
whistleblowers.
uncover a scheme involving
Hence,
eBlock
Minnesota.
Corporation, an international company that operates an online auction platform for used vehicles, and it led to criminal charges and a deferred prosecution agreement. Under that agreement, eBlock has agreed to pay $3.28 million
eBlock,
in
that was
criminal
their name.
fines,
I've never heard of
implement
eBlock.
compliance and remediation measures, and cooperate with our ongoing investigation. The whistleblower will receive $1 million reward funded from eBlock's criminal fine at no additional cost to the American taxpayer. The whistleblower exposed bid rigging and fraud, including the sharing of confidential bidding information and the use of fake bids to drive up prices for used vehicles in online auctions. That conduct didn't just harm competitors, it raised prices for legitimate car dealers trying to buy inventory. And when dealers pay more, hardworking Americans like you pay more too. Used cars are often the most affordable option for working Americans. The rigged
Yeah, it sure is.
competition here
I only paid
drove
$1,100
these
for my car.
essential vehicles out
Still
of
drive it
reach,
every day.
making reliable transportation harder to afford. When competition is rigged, prices rise and everyday purchases become unaffordable. The Trump DOJ will not tolerate schemes that cheat American consumers. This case demonstrates exactly why we launched the Whistleblower Rewards Program last year. Antitrust crimes are conspiracies designed to stay hidden. They thrive in the shadows behind closed doors. Whistleblowers expose these schemes by bringing us information we wouldn't otherwise have. And now we've made clear that blowing the whistle pays. If you are thinking about engaging in criminal conduct, know this: we now have another tool to catch you. Your scheme will not stay hidden for long. Your employees have strong incentives to blow the whistle, and we are listening. We will prosecute you, and we will reward the whistleblowers who expose you. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Well, there you have it. So if you want to be a whistleblower, if you got some intel, you got some information, you can get a hell of a good payout. But yeah, I bought my car like way back in 2015, back before all that COVID inflation and the automotive supply chain shortage, the chip shortage, and everything just got ridiculous in cost. I mean, even used cars are still a lot more expensive now than they were pre-COVID. I mean, just to buy my car, and it's like even back like when I first got it, it had like 184,000 miles on it. All right, now it's almost at 250,000 miles now. I'm just shy of it. I'm sure it would probably cost double now, just because of how much more expensive everything's gotten. I mean, not that you'd be able to find my car anyway. It's a 99 Mirage DE 1.5 liter. It's only like 92 horsepower, but still, I mean, I'd prefer the longevity over the speed. And yeah, it's rock solid. It's a little stick shift. They only made like 700 of those manual 1999 Mirage DEs, so there was only a few of them to start with. According to Grok, Grok predicted that there's only like 20 to 50 of them that are still registered across the entire country. Well, that's pretty cool, I guess. Anyway, BLS, labor statistics, federal employment reached lowest level since 2014. And I will link that, but we can just look at the graph here. Federal government employment from January of 1995 until December of 2025. Let's freaking go, man. Keep tanking that number. Take it down as far as it'll go. Because we want to downsize the government because our national deficit is out of control. And that's one way to tackle it, is just to absolutely obliterate the size of the federal bureaucracy. That would be kind of wonderful. But yeah, man, great. That's a really, really good graphic. It's one of my favorites that I've shown on here. And we're rolling on to the U.S. Secret Service. Time is running out for future special agents and officers interested in attending our invite-only Accelerated Candidate Event, or ACE. You must apply by Sunday, February the 1st. So yeah, time is literally running out. This event can speed up your hiring by up to 120 days. So if you just by any chance want to be a Secret Service agent, this is one quick way you can achieve that dream. Find more information about this event and qualifying roles at secretservice.gov. And heading on to the next. Oh man, I think I got a full screen. Oh, okay. No, never mind. All right, we're good. IRS news, we're transitioning federal payments to and from the government to electronic methods. So they're phasing out actual paper checks in the mail. So to prepare for these changes, the IRS encourages taxpayers to use direct deposit for refunds by providing accurate bank or prepaid debit card information when filing. It's time to leave paper behind. Consider direct deposit for your tax refund. I'm not exactly for this. I know they're trying to cut costs, which is kind of a conundrum. If you want to, downsize the amount of money that the government spends, I assume this is one good way to help that, just a little bit at least. But some people, they just prefer old school, man. They just prefer just having a check cut to them. And, some people, they may not have a bank account. I don't know. But anyway, that's what they're doing. So if you only get paper checks, just keep that in mind. And I've got a link to that also. I'm assuming that's at irs.gov. Yeah, it is, irs.gov. They issue frequently asked questions about Executive Order 14247, modernizing payments to and from America's bank account. So there you go. And it will lay out the details there. NHTSA Gov, that is the National Highway National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. I was close this time. A DTN airbag inflator has ruptured and killed another driver. These substandard Chinese inflators are dangerous. This latest rupture marks the 11th fatality or serious injury that we know of. See our new resource page. So I don't know what vehicles that they're putting these things in. I don't know if they're aftermarket airbags or what. Let's see. No, that's Secret Service. Where did it go? BLS. Oh, crap. I lost it. All right. No big deal. I'll find it. Oh, there it is. Yep, it's right there. Anyway, so what to know? Deadly airbag replacements. Okay, so yeah, it does sound like they're aftermarket. Substandard dangerous airbag inflators manufactured in China have caused deaths and injuries in the United States. Just another reason why I'm glad I drive a 90s car, because they probably don't make airbags that would fit in my car anyway. All right, so there is an urgent warning for anyone driving a vehicle that has previously been involved in a crash where the airbags deployed. NHTSA is investigating replacement airbag inflators from China that were installed in vehicles in the U.S. and are responsible for numerous deaths and injuries. And it says 9 people have died and 2 others were severely injured in 11 crashes where the vehicle involved had an airbag replaced with a substandard and dangerous airbag inflator manufactured in China. And it was likely illegally imported into the U.S. These fatalities occurred in crashes that should have been survivable. Airbag inflators manufactured in China by Jilin Province Detiano Automobile Safety System Co. Limited are strictly prohibited from sale in the U.S., but have been found installed in American vehicles. The vehicles involved had their original equipment airbags replaced with airbag modules containing substandard DTN airbag inflators following an earlier crash. During subsequent crashes, the DTN airbag inflators malfunctioned and ruptured, sending large metal fragments into drivers' chests, neck, eyes, and faces, leading to death or severe injury. So the people at risk are owners of vehicles with a salvage or rebuilt title. So now you've got an actual legitimate reason to stay away from salvage or rebuilt, because the price tags for those, because like when they're rebuilt, the car could look pretty much brand spanking new, but it would have a rebuild or even potentially a salvage title, but they're usually dirt cheap, which is very tempting to buy a car with that kind of a title. But you gotta, from what I understand, in some states or in some regions, you have to be careful because apparently salvage or rebuilt vehicles can be really hard to insure, or even sometimes even plate in some cases. So owners of vehicles that were in a previous crash where airbags deployed, and owners of used cars with unknown history. And because these parts are installed after a car leaves the factory, a standard vehicle identification number or VIN number check will not tell you if your vehicle has a DTN inflator. You must review the vehicle's history report to look for previous crashes or total loss events. Airbag deployment history, a salvage title, repairs performed at non-certified service centers. And anyway, it goes on from there. It doesn't affect a particular type of vehicle. They don't give any details on that. They're just letting you know that if you buy a vehicle that's been previously crashed, you got to get as much information as you possibly can from it, especially the name of the airbag. And if they can't give you any information on it, then I guess just pass on that deal, I guess. And we've got one more, couple more actually. Federal Highway Administration 2025 in review. We dove deep into the data to find out what you want to know from the Federal Highway Administration. Here are the top 5 topics that were on your minds in 2025. All right, well, we'll take a look at that. Let's see, is it just the... Okay, so here we go. I think this is what I'm looking for. Let me see. Okay, so no, it's not. It's just topics. I for some reason I thought this it was more of a Q&A type thing, but no, these are just the top web search topics for 2025 from the FHWA. Traffic control device standards, also traffic volume trends, proven safety countermeasures, and traffic incident management and pedestrian safety. So, all right, whatever. And we've got from Secretary Doug Burgum from earlier today, by formally recognizing the Lumbee tribe, the President and the Interior are acknowledging a long and well-documented history of tribal governance and ensuring the tribe has a direct sovereign relationship with the federal government. This is going to be on DOI.gov. Lumbee tribe added to official list of federally recognized tribes. The Department of the Interior today affirmed its commitment to tribal sovereignty by adding the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina to the official list of federally recognized tribes, formalizing the tribe's government-to-government relationship with the United States and carrying out federal recognition enacted into law in December of 2025. Well, good grief, I wonder what took them so damn long. The Department of the Interior Indian Affairs published the updated list in the Federal Register following President Trump's signing of legislation in December of 2025, granting full federal recognition to the Lumbee tribe. The action affirms the tribe's government-to-government relationship with the U.S. and fulfills a promise President Trump made to the Lumbee people. Federal recognition is about respect, accountability, and self-determination, said Secretary of the Interior Doug Burgum. By formally recognizing the Lumbee tribe, President Trump and the Department of the Interior are acknowledging a long and well-documented history of tribal governance and ensuring the tribe has a direct sovereign relationship with the federal government. This action reflects our responsibility to listen to tribes, honor commitments, and support strong tribal governments. During the first week of his second term, President Trump issued a memorandum declaring that considering the Lumbee tribe's historical and modern significance, it is the policy of the United States to support the full federal recognition, including the authority to receive full federal benefits of the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina. Very cool. Oh, so it looks like the list, let's see, the list of federally recognized tribes is published in the Federal Register. There's 575 American Indian and Alaskan Native tribal entities, including nations, tribes, bands, communities, pueblos, and villages that are acknowledged to have the immunities and privileges available to federally recognized tribes by virtue of the government-to-government relationship with the U.S. and the responsibilities, powers, limitations, and obligations of such tribes. All right, so there you have it. Very cool, man. The Lumbee tribe has been officially recognized by the government. And from America 250, big news from the front porch. We're excited to welcome Cracker Barrel as an official America 250 partner. They are in full-on damage control now, aren't they? Of course, they pledged to be a partner with America 250 because they got rid of the Cracker and the Barrel in that big fiasco that they had with what was her name? CEO. I don't remember her name, but she got rid of. They redesigned, quote unquote. They trashed the actual the sign, trying to redesign it, trying to make it look all modern. And the inside of the restaurant, like they were going to redesign all of the restaurants and give them a full makeover inside and out. And it looked ridiculous. Like just think back to what Wendy's looked like back in the 80s and the 90s. You know how Wendy's looked very unique with that sunroom? The same with McDonald's. Like way back in the day, McDonald's, they had like the big arches in the front and you know, it had its own style. There's like a lot of red and yellow, you know, wallpaper and stuff, a lot of Ronald McDonald and things like that back in the day. It was very distinguishable. But these days, they look sterile. They look gray and boring. And apparently, they redesigned them all so they can have a better resale value if they have to close one. I mean, because McDonald's, they totally close all the time. But anyway, Cracker Barrel, they were trying to do basically the same thing, trying to give it a modern makeover, and it looked absolutely atrocious. But, you know, that's part of getting woke. You get woke, you go broke. Anyway, Cracker Barrel joins America 250 to celebrate 250 years of the traditions, stories, and comfort food that brings Americans together. Yeah, they definitely missed the mark on that. They seem to not realize that people go to Cracker Barrel, you know, for the food. Okay, to be fair, yeah, a lot of people go because the food's good. But I think even more importantly, they go for the atmosphere. They want to go to like what appears to be like a dusty, dingy log cabin out in the middle of America's interior. that your grandparents, you remember when you were a kid, your grandparents always took you there, and like the gift shop is always the best part. I don't know. And they wanted to, I don't know if they were going to get rid of the gift shop part. I don't think they were going to do that, but they were just going to completely ruin it. So I'm really glad that they pulled back from that. But obviously they're trying to repair their brand by partnering with America 250. So there you go. NASA, these bubbly pillars are towers of gas cast off from a dying star. Can you tell we're getting to the end of the episode? I always save NASA for last. Learn more about this close-up look at the Helix Nebula captured by our NASA Webb telescope. Let me see if they have. I actually didn't have a chance to review this. So, of course, this is a very close-up image. It's unbelievable that the Webb Space Telescope took an image of the Helix Nebula in this much detail. It is mind-blowing. I'm hoping to see if they have a picture of the Helix Nebula in its entirety. If not, then I'll just hit the magic of the pause button. Yeah, here we go. So that's the Helix Nebula in its entirety, and they actually got it zoomed in pretty good to show just the gas and the bubbles. I think that's how they put it. And if I'm not mistaken, well, there was the Crab. I think it might have been the Crab Nebula, actually. But the Helix Nebula, I think it went supernova not that long ago. I think the Crab Nebula was the one that happened in like the 15 or 1400s or something like that. It probably won't mention it here in the article, though. And you know what? I just had a look at it, and I already knew this. I don't know why that didn't come to mind. Nebulas are usually associated with stars that explode, but the Helix Nebula is a stellar nebula, which means the star didn't explode. Instead, it did exactly what our sun is expected to do. Just it's going to balloon up to a very large size. Might get as large to the point where it will swallow up the Earth, because the sun's going to expand to an incredibly large size into, I believe, what they call a red giant. And then once it balloons up to a large size, it'll just quietly just kind of fizzle apart. And what'll be left is a white dwarf in the middle, which is about the size of the Earth. And it'll be made of pure carbon, which is a diamond. That's going to be what's left over of the sun in about 5 billion years. But anyway, yeah, so the Helix Nebula, it didn't go supernova. It's a planetary nebula formed when a star similar to the sun reached the end of its life, shedding its outer layers roughly 10 to 12,000 years ago. It represents the ejection of material from a red giant, leaving behind a white dwarf core, not a violent supernova explosion. So the Helix Nebula, in terms of the universe, it's extremely young. It basically happened yesterday in universal terms or timescales. So it was a really cool image, though. I mean, James Webb Space Telescope, man, it's always taking insane pictures. Bethany Stevens, it's full steam ahead at NASA as we near historic milestones. NASA administration wraps up the roadshow. Crew 12 prepares for the International Space Station. NASA tech spotlighted in Spinoff 2026. Hybrid aircraft engine tested. And Athena supercomputer goes online. Catch up with the NASA Minute. Let's catch up with NASA Minute.
It's an exciting and historic time
Actually, the
here at
NASA 3 Minutes, more like it.
From leadership visits and launch preparations to new technologies and research milestones, here's this week's NASA Minute. This week, Administrator Jared Isaacman wrapped up his NASA Roadshow visiting our centers across the nation. Administrator Isaacman has spent the last couple of weeks listening, learning, and seeing firsthand the work happening on the ground across NASA as a whole. Just weeks into his tenure, those conversations are helping shape the priorities for the path ahead. They're guiding how NASA will move faster, sharpen our focus, and deliver on the missions the nation is counting on, grounded in the expertise, discipline, and pride of the workforce. At Kennedy Space Center, teams are closing in on another key milestone for the Artemis II mission and America's return to the moon. At Launch Complex 39B, engineers are preparing the Space Launch System rocket, Orion spacecraft, and ground systems for an upcoming wet dress rehearsal, a critical pre-launch test that simulates launch day operations. During the rehearsal, teams will load over 700,000 gallons of cryogenic propellants, or frozen fuel, run through countdown procedures, and practice safely standing down the vehicle, helping ensure the rocket and ground systems are ready for flight. After completing these tests and preparations, NASA teams will take time to assess the readiness of every system before announcing a target launch date. So stay tuned.
Okay. Well, hopefully they'll announce it
are underway
in a couple
for
days.
NASA's SpaceX Crew 12 mission. This week, the 4 astronauts entered their 2-week pre-flight quarantine at Johnson Space Center. in preparation for their mission aboard the International Space Station. The crew will soon travel to Kennedy Space Center to complete final pre-launch operations. NASA is targeting the earliest launch opportunity at 6 a.m. on February 11th from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. This week, we released NASA Spinoff 2026, showcasing more than 40 examples of NASA innovations now driving progress across industries here on Earth. For nearly 50 years, the publication has documented more than 2,400 technologies, from medical monitoring and food safety to cell phone cameras and 3D printed homes, that have strengthened American industry, fueled entrepreneurship, and improved everyday life. NASA and GE Aerospace recently completed a successful ground test of a hybrid aircraft engine, marking a major step toward the future of commercial aviation. The test marked the first time an integrated hybrid aircraft engine ran as a complete system, moving the technology closer to real-world use as the industry looks to cut fuel use and costs. At Ames Research Center in Silicon Valley, NASA has brought its most powerful supercomputer ever online, a new system called Athena. This supercomputer significantly boosts the agency's computing power, allowing researchers to run faster, more detailed simulations with greater efficiency. This capability is critical to NASA's work, from modeling rocket launches and analyzing massive scientific data sets to designing the next generation of aircraft. This powerful new tool will support innovative missions and world-class research. That's the latest from NASA, where teams are always preparing for what's next. See you next week.
See you next week. See you next Friday. Always on Friday. And I got the last one from NASA. This February holds some stellar opportunities for skywatching. You can look forward to a clear look at the constellation Orion, a chance to see most of our solar system's planets, and you can learn more about how to view, but we've got the video, so we'll just check out the video and we'll be done.
The moon could have human visitors for the first time since 1972. The constellation Orion will be clear to see, and a planetary parade will sparkle across the skies. And that's what's up this February.
What's up?
The moon could have some visitors soon. NASA's Artemis 2 mission will send astronauts to fly around the moon. The first opportunities for launch are this February. This mission will pave the way for Artemis 3, which will be the first time we've sent humans to the lunar surface since the final Apollo mission, Apollo 17, in 1972. So this month, look up to the moon shining bright in the night sky, and there might be somebody looking back down at you. Can you spot Orion the Hunter in the night sky?
Yeah, right there.
You might be able to see the line of 3 stars that make
And that's actually Betelgeuse right there, if I'm not mistaken.
up Orion's belt. But that belt is part of a larger constellation called Orion, named for the hunter in Greek mythology. Above Orion's belt, the hunter's right shoulder is actually Betelgeuse, or Alpha Orionis, one of the brightest stars in the night sky. Most visible in the winter, February is one of the clearest times to see Orion in the sky. From dusk through the night, look to the southern sky and try to spot the hunter for yourself. A planetary parade will march across the sky this month. Mid-February, Saturn will drop down toward the horizon as Venus and Mercury climb upward in the sky, meeting together in the west to southwestern sky. Jupiter will find itself high in the sky.
Right after sunset.
And even Uranus, found in the southern sky, and Neptune, found nearby Saturn, will join the parade. Though you'll need binoculars or a telescope to spot these 2 far-off planets.
Yeah,
The
can't see
planets
those
will be
with your
visible
naked eye.
soon after sunset.
Can't see
throughout
Uranus
month
with
of
the naked eye.
February, but they'll be lined up best toward the end of the month. So go outside and see how many planets you can find. Here are the phases of the moon for February.
There's
you can
the phases.
stay up to date on all of NASA's missions exploring the solar system and beyond at science.nasa.gov. I'm Chelsea Goad from NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and that's what's up for this month.
Oh yeah, man, we got the full moon coming up the day after tomorrow on February the 1st. And that is going to do it for this episode. And if you enjoyed the video, please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. And I will be dropping a new episode on Monday as I do the Swamp Monday through Friday, covering the swamp and everyone living in it, the politicians, the bureaucrats, the agencies, and everything else. I also post daily on X, so feel free to comment there too if you'd like. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your night and a fantastic weekend, and God bless America.